and then comments. All right, fantastic. Chinwendu, Abdul. So I'd also like to get a sense of where you're joining us from. Okay, so I want you to just type in the city or the country. Okay, let's get to know where you're joining us from. For example, I'll start by typing mine. Okay, so I'm joining from Manchester in the UK. So just type in, let's see where is Istanbul, fantastic. Abdul, Lagos, Nigeria, Abuja, Osun, Ghana, brilliant. Ogun State, Abuja, Lagos, Sapele, Newcastle, Dundee, Scotland. I was in Glasgow 2 weeks ago. Edward, Nairobi. Fantastic. All right, good to see that we have diversity on the call today, and we'll be diving into something very interesting. Okay, we'll have a practical session. So today's session is broken into 3 major parts. All right, Abe, thank you very much, joining from Birmingham in the UK. So you would be having 3 major areas that we'd look at today. First of all, we'd have introduction into what we'd be doing, which is largely around how to leverage AI as a data analyst, as a data scientist. What is it all about? Okay, and we'll have a practical session. So we'll have a practical session using Excel. We'll dive into Excel, we'll get a data set. I'll show you what the data set looks like, and then we'll start building stuff together. All right, that's the first part. The second part would center around what it takes to become a data analyst or a data scientist. A lot of people get confused. What's the difference? Are they the same or are they different? If I say I'm a data analyst or a data scientist, are we actually doing different things in an organization, or our roles intertwined one way or the other? We'll also talk about that and demystify the differences between the 2 roles and the specific skills that you need to get into either data analytics or data science. And last but not the least, I would introduce you into our upcoming program on the 7th of October. And we have a special offer for you, for those of you who would stay till the very end of the session. Now, the session is recorded. Okay, is recorded, and those that stay till the end, once you also see the link to sign the attendance, please go ahead and enter your details so that you get the recording of today's session eventually. All right, so let's get started, and I'll share my slide. I think Isosa has done a fantastic job introducing already. So what I'll just simply do is I'll pick up from where Isosa stopped, and I'll dive into the practical bits, and let's see how far we can go today. All right, so of course, Isosa has done the introduction already. My name is Adeza Suleiman, the founder of Tenalytics. I'm a data analytics expert with close to a decade years of experience across 5 different sectors. I've worked as a data science consultant with multinationals in the UK, in the US, across Europe. And I've also worked as a data analytics consultant with FITC. FITC is a professional services firm owned by the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Bankers Committee. I've worked in the financial services sector, educational technology, energy. I've also worked in edtech, automobile, especially in the UK and also in the US. Personally, I've trained well over 8,500 people, helping them transition into tech. And my major objective is to help organizations make sense of the data that they have so they can take data-driven decisions. And that's what I've been doing for the last 10 years. My focus, and the focus of Tenalytics as well, is to help as many people get into tech, especially those of the Black community and Africans. So people that look like me, my Ghanaian brothers and sisters, Zimbabweans, South Africans, Nigerians, and so on and so forth. The goal of Tenalytics is to get as many Africans into tech as much as we can. And we've been doing a fantastic job over the last 3 years. And we've helped close to 1,000 people make that switch from the classroom to getting their very first jobs in the tech ecosystem. And I would share my own transition journey. I would also share, some success stories that I have on the slide today. And you'd get to see some amazing people that have started their journey, just like some of you would start in the month of October and also make the switch into tech. All right, so I've talked about what we'll be going into today. First of all, how to leverage AI. I'll also speak about the skills that you need to get into data analytics or data science. And I'll talk about the upcoming program, the special discount I have for all of you, and then we'll call it a day. Now, let's get started with the practical bit of our session. I got a data set from the web, and I'll show you what the data set looks like. So the data set has or shows different records of death across the globe, the causes of death in different countries from the year 1990 to 2019. So the records of people that died in Africa, in Europe, in the US, across North America, and so on and so forth, what caused the death of those people? So we'd see a trend, and we have the data set of over 180-something thousand rows. We would analyze that data in Excel. I'll show you what it looks like, but that would form the basis of our analysis today, right? Now, if you are new, if this is the first time you are joining N8N Analytics Masterclass, you've not joined the Masterclass before, type in 1 into the chat so I know all the new people we have on the call. If you've not joined us before, you are joining us for the very first time, just type in a 1 into the chat. Brilliant, fantastic. So we have a lot of new people. That's fantastic. You really don't need any experience to be here. Okay, you don't need any experience. Every single thing I'll do, I would explain to the nitty-gritty. I'd explain every single detail. And my advice would be for you to also take down notes. If you have questions, as soon as it occurs to you, write it down, send it into the chat. At the end of the session, we'd have a Q&A where you'd have the opportunity to unmute yourself and we get to interact, you ask your questions, and I try as much as I can to answer the questions that you have. Fantastic. You're welcome to the call, Jordan. Now, let's see what the data looks like. Like I said, all you have to do, the slides will also be made available to you, and that's for those that stay till the end of the session. You get the slides as well. All you have to do is click on this link that you have here, and then it takes you to where the data set is, and you can download the data set. So what I'll do now is to click on the link. So it takes me to where the data set is, and you get to see what the data looks like itself. So about 50% of the people in the class here today are new to our masterclass. So you're all welcome. You'll have an amazing time and you'll learn something today. So just pay attention and ask questions as the session goes along. So I'll click on this link, and when you get the slide as well, click on the link. It takes you into the data itself, and I'm just going to show you what it looks like. All right. So I'll show you what it looks like after clicking on the link. So once you click on the link, it brings you into this page. It opens up on your browser. And all you have to do to get this file into your computer as an Excel file is you click on File at the top left corner. Okay. So at the top left corner, you click on File. All right. And then you'd see where you have Download. And then you click on Microsoft Excel. I'll share the link. Don't worry about that. I'll share the link on the Zoom call as well. So for those of you that want to work with me step by step, you can feel free to do that. However, I would advise you the best way to get value from this session is to watch me, ask questions. Let's solve this problem together step by step. Okay. So once you go to File, you go to Download, you click on Microsoft Excel. The moment you click on that, what happens? It downloads the file as an Excel file in your computer. You go to your downloads and then you have access. You have access to that particular data set. All right. So I'll drop the link of the data sets like I mentioned. Just give me 1 second and I'll do that. I'll drop the link on the Zoom chat. So for those of you that want to download, please feel free to go ahead and do that. All right. Okay. The link is on the slide. Okay. I have the link embedded on the slide itself. So when you get the slide, you click on the link to have access to the data set. Now, let's see what the data looks like on Excel. Once we open the data set, let's see what it looks like. So I'll open up my Excel. So let's assume you've downloaded the data, you've opened it up on Excel. This is what you'd have. You have the country column. You have a column that has all the country names. It starts with Afghanistan. And if you scroll all the way down, you'd see that you have records for each country from the year 1990 to the year 2019, right? So you'd see Afghanistan, the code, the country code, the ISO country code for Afghanistan is AFG. The year 1990, total death, meningitis. The cause of death is meningitis, all right? For Alzheimer's disease, in the year 1990, you have the total death, 1,116. So for each cause of death in the year 1990 for Afghanistan, we have the record. Okay, and we have the record for all the different countries. So if I scroll down, you'd see that it moves from Afghanistan to another country. So I'm just going to use the slider at the right-hand side. So we have Argentina, and if I scroll all the way down, we have Bangladesh, and if I scroll down, you'd see all the different countries, Dominica, El Salvador, Estonia, Gabon, and so on and so forth, all right? It's a very large data set containing where you have so many countries. You have the causes of death, you have the country codes, and you also have the number of people that died. Now, I want to ask a very quick question, and let's see who can answer the question. How many people died of HIV/AIDS in Nigeria in the year 2005? That's my question. So from the data that I have here, how many people died in Nigeria due to HIV in the year 2005? Can anybody answer that question just from what I have on my screen? Can anybody, do you think you can get that question from what we have on the screen? How easy would it be? Because we have a whole lot of data set here. We have for Afghanistan, we have for the US, we have for all the different regions, we have for so many other countries. And so how do you summarize these entire data into something that is easy to understand, something that is easy to get insights from? Okay, somebody saying we can use the VLOOKUP. iPhone XR sent a direct message to me. It's difficult unless we filter. Absolutely, Tokwe, Taiwo, pivot table. Augustina is saying pivot table, and so on. I agree with all of you. There is a method and there is a way we can get that done. But today we'll be looking at two major tools to help us achieve this. The first one is ChatGPT. All right, ChatGPT. That's the first tool we would use to summarize this data. Now remember, leveraging AI, there are so many new technologies, so many new advancements that makes life easy. I call ChatGPT my technical assistant. All right, ChatGPT is my technical assistant. That's what I call ChatGPT. So I'd use ChatGPT to get insights from this data, help me summarize, show me what to do, really, because I have no idea. That's the scenario. So you are new into the role, you have no idea, you're not really sure, or you want to get things done very fast. So you really don't want to sit down and start to think, oh, I need to do a pivot table. What insights do you think I can generate from these data sets? You have to do some thinking. But now you have tools that can do that thinking for you. So the very first thing we'd use is ChatGPT, all right? The second tool would leverage today, another AI tool that is always glaring, very glaring, looking at us right in the face every single time we use Excel, but we really don't use it. I've introduced this to so many people and they will be shocked that what? This actually exists in Excel. Now, what is that particular tool? If you go to the Home tab, if you can see what I have on my screen at the right-hand side on the Home tab, you'd see Analyze Data. All right, I'm hovering my mouse around Analyze Data. So you'd see Analyze Data. Analyze Data is an AI-enabled tool, and you'd see how fantastic it is. using analyzed data, would ask questions, would type in questions into analyzed data, and it would give us results. Summarize the data for us without any hassle. Summarize the data for us without any hassle. All right. So now let's get started. Okay. So the very first thing we'd use is ChatGPT. So let's get back to the slide. I just needed you to see the data set and see what the data looks like before we start to do any analysis, so you understand exactly what we are getting into. Now, you have the link to the data set. You would also have it in the slides. You can download later after the end of the session today. What's ChatGPT? A lot of you have heard about ChatGPT. It's a new tool. It's an AI-enabled tool. It's a large language model. It helps to carry out natural language processing. So many things you've heard about ChatGPT. But I want two people to tell me what they know about ChatGPT. So if you want to speak, just use the raised hand icon and allow you to unmute yourself. And let's get to hear from you. What do you know about ChatGPT? Any two people, if you want to speak, just use the raise hand icon. I'll allow you unmute yourself. Anybody? Okay, iPhone XR, Gideon. So iPhone XR, I'm not sure. Okay, I've asked you to unmute yourself. So go ahead and unmute. What do you know about ChatGPT?
ChatGPT is open AI, so stuff like that. Open AI, you can ask it direct question, and it will give you the real exact way you want it, and it can teach you more things you will really want to know. Fantastic. It's just like an artificial intelligence bot. Thank you.
Fantastic. What's your name, iPhone XR?
I am Agbola.
Agbola. Thank you very much, Agbola. So Agbola said ChatGPT was developed by OpenAI, right? And it's an artificial intelligence chatbot. Okay, I think that summarizes it in a fantastic way. Thank you very much. Let's hear from Gideon. Gideon, go ahead, please.
Yeah, ChatGPT, normally we use it for research. If you are looking for an information, sometimes you cannot find in Google or another place. Once you input what you are looking for, the ChatGPT will do the search and find it for you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Gideon. ChatGPT can also be used for research and so many things. And you would use ChatGPT today, and you'd see how amazing ChatGPT is. So ChatGPT, just like Agbola mentioned earlier, is an AI, is driven by AI, developed by OpenAI. That's the company or the organization that designed and developed ChatGPT. It gives us feedback. So we type in stuff into the ChatGPT chatbot, and it gives us feedback that are human-like. So you can have conversations. Hi, ChatGPT, I want to do something. Can you help me out? And ChatGPT is always very positive to tell you what it thinks you should do. And it's always ready to help out. So ChatGPT is a large language model driven by AI, helps to do what? Answer questions, assist with different tasks, write essays, respond to emails, can develop and design codes for you that you can use on your Python, can help you debug errors in your code, and so on and so forth. I call ChatGPT my personal assistant, my personal technical assistant. So you have tools like this that makes life very easy for you. Okay, now how do you leverage ChatGPT? Now, the first thing is you need to create an account, right? And I have all the steps, about 5 steps that you need to take to create your ChatGPT account. So if you want to create your account on the call, that's fine. You can go ahead and do that. But like I mentioned earlier, I would advise that you do this after the session at your own convenience. When you are a little bit more relaxed, you get it done at your own convenience. Okay. Now, the very first thing you need to do to set up your ChatGPT account is type in ChatGPT in your browser. So just search Google ChatGPT. It brings up you'll see the very first link that it brings up. Okay. You'd see ChatGPT get started. You'd see this link over here. And that's what you need to click on. All right, so that's the second step. You click on that link. Once you click on the link, what happens? It takes you to where you'd either log in or sign up. Now, if you have an account already, all you have to do is to log in. But if you don't have an account and you are signing up for the first time, all you have to do is what? Click on sign up. Okay, so again, first step, search for ChatGPT on your browser, on Google or any other browser that you use. You would see the link that comes up. Click on the link on ChatGPT. It takes you into this page where you either log in or sign up. All right. Now, I'm assuming you haven't used it before. A couple of you would have login details. Some of you would be setting it up for the very first time. So once you click on sign up, what happens? It takes you into the ChatGPT page where you would have to what? Enter your email and also your password. So you enter your email address. That's my email over there. And then you also enter your password. And once you enter your password and your email and you click on continue, what happens? The next step is to verify your email. So they send you a verification to your email. You go to your email, verify, and then it gives you the option that says email verified. And this is where you verify and log in. So you click on this link to log in, and then you have access to ChatGPT. I'll show you the platform. I'm not going to use it today. We'll write stuff into ChatGPT, and it will tell us what to do and how to get insights from the data that we have. So we have a data set that shows death across different countries from the year 1990 to 2019. But how can we make sense of the data set that we have? What's the major cause of death? Has that particular cause of death, is it on the increase or has it been decreasing over time? Now, a lot of people are joining from different countries, from the US, from the UK, from Ghana, from Jamaica, and so on and so forth. You'd like to know, from my own country, Nigeria, I'm a Nigerian, for example, what's the major cause of death in Nigeria, or what's the top 5? So there are certain things you'd want to start to think about. How can I generate insights from this data to take decisions or to even just understand what the data is all about? And that's what ChatGPT will do for us. And what I've done for you to make it easy, especially at the end of the session, when you're trying to do this yourself, is to come up with the prompts that you'd use. Okay, so I have prompts, and you leverage these prompts to get what you want to get out of ChatGPT. So the very first thing you'll be doing would be to what? To warm up ChatGPT. So we'll use all these prompts. Hello, I have some task for you today. We're going to type that into ChatGPT and see the response that it gives back to us. Okay, and then we'll continue to generate our insights, focus on the insights, ask ChatGPT to break down the steps for us to take and how to solve the problem. We'd also ask ChatGPT to give us step-by-step guide if we need to build a dashboard out of that data set. What are the type of pivot charts or pivot table like somebody recommended that we should use? And then we're going to ask ChatGPT to do more for us. As much as ChatGPT can do, we'll ensure it gets it done for us. So the very first prompt we'll look at is what? Warm up ChatGPT. Like I mentioned, it's very, very positive. You send something, it's always willing to help. So the next thing I'll be doing is to go to my browser. I would assume that at this point, you either have ChatGPT logged in on your computer, or you'll be doing this later after the session. But let's open up our browser. And then I'll just simply type ChatGPT. Now, because I already have it opened, I have my ChatGPT logged in. You'd see chat.openai.com. And once I hit enter, this takes me directly to my own ChatGPT. And you can see the interface. You can see what it looks like. There are two major versions. There is the 3.5, which is free. Everybody has access to that. You don't need to pay anything. And then there is GPT-4. GPT-4 is about $24 per month. So $20 plus tax is about $24. But I'll tell you for a fact that GPT-4 is If you haven't used GPT-4 before, you'll not understand the explanation I'm giving. It will blow your mind. It will do the impossible, things you don't even imagine. If we have time after the session, I'll show you what GPT-4, what it looks like. Let's see. So I have that on my other account. I'll show you what GPT-4 looks like. But what we'll use today is 3.5, which is the free version. With GPT-4, you can give it a data set, upload your file, and it generates your insight, your analysis, your different charts, and so on and so forth. Life is now very easy for anybody getting into data analytics or data science. The only thing you need to do to get value out of tools that are coming up like ChatGPT and other new trends is to have the understanding, okay? ChatGPT can only help you if you understand what you're doing. You know what data analytics is all about, what data science is all about, and so on and so forth. Okay, so let's get started. We are using the free version, like I mentioned, which is 3.5. And the very first thing we want to type into ChatGPT is to say, hello, I have some task for you today. Okay, so that's the very first thing. We are warming up ChatGPT. We have some task. We want you to do something for us. So let's see if you are willing to do it for us. So hello, I have some task for you today. And then I hit enter. Okay, and of course it gives me a feedback and says, hello, I'll be happy to help with your task. Please let me know what you need assistance with, and I'll do my best to provide the information or guidance you're looking for. Always positive. Now, I want you to let me know if you can see my screen clearly or you want me to zoom in a bit. If it's clear, please just type in clear into the chat. If it's clear, type in clear into the chat. Okay, I can see somebody is asking, is it a paid app? So like I mentioned, you have two versions, 3.5 and 4. 4 is paid. And I'll show you what the paid one looks like because I have an account as well. I have a free account. I have a paid account. So I'll show you what it looks like. It's totally different in terms of the capacity or the capability to do fantastic stuff for you. All right, it's clear. So let's go on then. So hello, I have some tasks for you today. ChatGPT has said, tell me what you want and I'll do it for you. Now, that's the very first prompt we have written. The second prompt, remember, is we want ChatGPT to make our lives easier. I don't want to think about that data set. I don't want to think deeply. I need guidance, okay? How should I start with my analysis? What do you think I should do first? What should I do next? So I want to ask ChatGPT or tell ChatGPT that I have data sets related to global death, okay? And I have it in Excel. And these are the columns because we have to guide. It's like telling ChatGPT to take us somewhere. We have to give it some direction. We have to guide ChatGPT as well. So I'm going to tell ChatGPT that this is the data set. These are the columns. It has country, it has code, it has year, it has total death, cause of death, and so on. And we want you to create a dashboard from these data sets. Generate 5 insights for us, just 5. That's what we want to tell ChatGPT to do. And let's see if ChatGPT can do this for us, okay? Somebody said I should zoom in a bit. I'll zoom in a bit so you can see a bit better. Let's see, I think this is fine, all right? I just zoomed in a bit and I hope this is a little better. So let's enter the next prompt to ChatGPT. And the next prompt, like I mentioned, would be, I have some global death data sets. Remember, our data set is related to global death. Global death data set in Excel with this format, or with these columns, or with these features, depending on what you want. Okay, so I'm going to open a quote and close the quote. So what I'll do is I'll go back to my data set and I'll copy my headers. The headers we have from the data set. I'll copy it and paste it in between the quotes that I have. I've opened one and I've closed it. So I'll go back to paste. Now, that's the format, the headers that I have, okay? Now, I'll go to the next line with a shift and enter. So if you hit enter, it would send the chart, but we don't want to send it now. We want to add some more prompts to ChatGPT. So I have some global death data set in Excel with this format. Open bracket, close the bracket. I'll copy the headers. I'll paste it in between the opened and closed brackets. I move to the next line and I want to create a dashboard from the data sets. Okay, so we're telling ChatGPT what the exact thing we want to do. We want to create a dashboard. I want to create a dashboard from the data sets. Can you help me generate 5 insights? We can do more, or we can leave it open-ended, but I want to use 5 so that we also manage time and we don't take all the time today on the call doing too many things using ChatGPT and Excel. So can you generate 5 insights for the dashboard? All right. Can you help me generate 5 insights for the dashboard? Now let's go back to the data, because like I mentioned, we need to copy the headers. Country, code, year, total death, cause of death. So I'll just simply select my headers, select everything that I have, and I would copy Control-C. So I can either come back here to copy Control-C, or I can go back to ChatGPT and just type it in, because I have just 5 colons or 5 headers, so they're not much. However, if you have maybe 100 colons or 50-something colons, it's difficult to type that in one by one. So you'd want to copy and paste. So I've copied. I'll go back to ChatGPT, and then I'll paste the headers in between the opened and closed bracket. All right. So I'll paste Control-V. And of course, you'd see the country, the code, the year, the total death, and cause of death. These are the features. These are the headers from the data sets we are working with today. All right. All I did was to copy and I pasted in between the opened and the closed quotes. Now let's hit enter to send this to ChatGPT. So I hit enter and let's see what it gives back to us. Let's see what it gives. There's no need to have a comma. You don't need to have a comma. You can paste it in like that without the comma. All right. You can paste it in without the comma. Okay. So it's giving us 5 different insights. So it's saying mortality trends over time. Create a line chart that shows the trend of total death over the years. All right. So you have years and you have death, people that died in the year 1990, 1991, 1992, up until 2019. So it's saying, look, do you know what? Create mortality trend. Let's see what has happened between 1990 to 2019. Fantastic. Number 2, leading causes of death. Okay. Generate a pie chart or bar chart that displays the distribution of causes of death. This can help to identify the most common causes of death worldwide and any significant changes over time. So it's also saying that, look, you have causes of death. People died due to HIV/AIDS and so many other reasons. Let's do a comparison. What is the leading cause of death? Okay, so let's do that, which I think is a fantastic insight. Now, number 3, it's saying regional comparison. Okay, so group the data by regions, e.g. by continent or country groups, and create a stacked bar chart or a map that compares total death or leading causes of death among these regions. That's also good. Okay, group the different countries into regions, and you can also make do analysis to see this particular region compared to the other region, and so on and so forth. Number 4, yearly change in mortality rates. Calculate the year-over-year percentage change in total death and create a line chart or bar chart to visualize these changes. This can show viewers how mortality rates are evolving, which is also fantastic. And the last is what? Top countries for specific causes. Okay, so you have causes of death. Give me the top countries for specific causes of death. All right, so 5 fantastic insights. And it's telling us that to create these insights, you would need to use data visualization tool or software like Excel, Tableau, Power BI, or Python libraries like Matplotlib or Seaborn. We want to use Excel. We want to use Excel. So now I would write my very next prompt to tell ChatGPT to focus on specific insights for us. Okay, so I'll say, for example, I don't want to do the grouping. I don't want to group the countries because that'll take another time. We'd need to find a way to do the grouping, and that'll take us some other time, to take us quite maybe another 15 minutes to get that done. We don't want to waste time doing that. All right, so I'll simply say the data set, or let's not say the data set. I would say, thank you for giving me these results. All right, thank you for these results. Can you tell me how to do this using Excel pivot table? Because I know what I want to use. I want to use the pivot table to summarize. And I want ChatGPT to tell me, how can I use the pivot table in Excel to summarize this data? And while doing that, I'll tell ChatGPT to also change. I'm not going to do my regional comparison. I'm simply going to compare the countries. Okay, so I'll compare countries by countries instead of regions by regions, which makes sense. So I would say that, can you tell me or show me how to go about using Excel pivot tables to generate these insights? Right? So when I asked the question earlier, somebody suggested that, look, let's use Excel pivot tables. Now, ChatGPT has given us fantastic insights, 5 insights that we're going to quickly create and showcase to see what the data is really saying with regards to the mortality trends, the leading causes of death, the regional comparison, the top countries for specific causes of death, and so on and so forth. But we want ChatGPT to tell us how to go about it. How do I go about it? Let's assume I haven't done this before using pivot table. How do I go about it using Excel pivot tables to generate these insights? And I hit enter, and let's see what ChatGPT gives to us. And of course, as fantastic as ChatGPT is, it will tell us step by step what we need to do. Step by step what we need to do. And that's the beauty. That's the beauty of AI. So a lot of people would tell me, and I've gotten so many questions around, will AI take my job as a data scientist or as a data analyst? And the answer is very simple. The answer is no. That would never happen. AI would not take your job. Your ability to leverage AI would do you a lot of good because you become faster, you become smarter, and you get more efficient and effective. You get the right results and you get it done in the most efficient manner. And you become a superstar. People would wonder, how did you get this done? But they don't know you are using or leveraging tools like ChatGPT. Okay, so now let's look at this. Mortality trends over time. How do we create it? Select the entire data set, including the headers. Go to the Insert tab and click on Pivot Table. Step by step, select the data set, go to Insert, and click on Pivot Table. In the Create Pivot Table dialog box, make sure your data range is selected and choose where you want the pivot table. For example, in a new worksheet. Okay, now And we're going to do this practically. So you'd see, I'll follow all the steps one by one, just the way ChatGPT has given to me. And I'll create the pivot table and do exactly what ChatGPT wants us to do. So for the mortality trend over time, it's giving us the steps. Leading causes of death, the same thing. We've created the pivot table, and this time around, in the pivot table field list, drag causes of death to the rows area and drag total death to the values area. Okay, brilliant and fantastic. For those of you that have used Excel before and used pivot table, you'd understand and you'd get excited just by seeing this alone. Okay, so we have everything for number 4, how to also calculate the yearly change, how to calculate the top countries for specific courses, and so on and so forth, which is also very fantastic. Now, let us get to Excel and start creating all these different insights that ChatGPT has given to us. So this is how we create the pivot table, okay? We also need to create charts because we need to visualize. We need to see charts. You'd go on LinkedIn, you'd look at a McKinsey report, a PwC report, and you'd see charts with lines, with bars and columns and so on and so forth. How can I also create my pivot charts with ChatGPT telling me what to do? To create my charts, I need to have created my pivot table. So let's first of all go and create this one, okay? Following the steps one after the other. So I'll go back to Excel. This is my data set, the same data set I copied initially. Now, the very first step is select the entire data. That's what ChatGPT has told us to do, okay? Select the entire data. Select the entire data set, including the headers. That's the very first step. So let's select the entire data. To select the entire data is very straightforward. You don't need to do anything extraordinary. Just press Ctrl-A. Ensure that you are clicked, preferably at the top left corner of your data set, and press Ctrl-A. You hold the Control key on your keyboard and you press A. A for Apple. Ctrl-A. And if I press Ctrl-A, it selects my entire data for me. Okay, that's the very first step. Ctrl-A selects the entire data. That's what ChatGPT has said we should do. Second step is what? Go to the Insert tab and click on Pivot Table. Step number 2. All right, so now I've selected the entire data, Ctrl-A. Second step, go to where? Insert. That's Insert at the top left corner, and click on what? Pivot Table. So I'm going to click on Pivot Table, okay, because that's the second step. Click on what? Pivot Table. Now, what's the third step? Let's go back to ChatGPT and let it tell us what the third step is. Third step is what? In the Create Pivot Table dialog box. That's that box that just came up. What should we do? Make sure your data range is selected, and also what? Choose where you want to place the pivot table. For example, select a new what? Worksheet. Select a new worksheet. Let's go back to Excel. I'm sorry. Let's go back to Excel. So this is the pivot table dialog box. And guess what? Our new worksheet is selected. If it wasn't selected, then we'd have to click on the tick box to select it. And that's what ChatGPT has told us to do. Ensure your data set is selected, and then select the new worksheet. Once you have that, click on OK. And the moment we click on OK, what happens? It creates a pivot table for us. Simple and short. It creates a pivot table for us. What you have here at the left-hand side is called a pivot table. What is a pivot table? A pivot table is a table that helps us summarize our data set. If I want to see the total number of deaths from 1990 to 2019, I can do it on my pivot table because that helps to summarize the entire data set. And that's what I'm going to do now. All right. So I've created my pivot table. Now, what ChatGPT has said we should do, and I'll follow the steps like I mentioned, and then for the subsequent pivot tables, I'll be a lot faster so that we can move on to other things. So if I go back to ChatGPT, the next step after creating the pivot table is what? Drag year to the colons area and drag total death to the values area. Drag year to the colons area and drag total death to the values area. Very, very straightforward. So let's get back to Excel. It said we should drag what? Year to colons. At the right-hand side, you'd see that I have filters, I have colons, I have rows, and I have values. ChatGPT has said, drag year and drop it under where? Colons. And what do you see? 1990, 1991, 1992, 93, 94, 95, all the way to 2019. All right? And drag what? Total death and drop it where? Under values. So just drag and drop. Simple and short. Click, drag it, and drop. So I clicked on year and I dropped it under colons. I've clicked on total death and I'm dropping it where? Under values. And you can see the numbers. Okay, you can see the numbers. This is what ChatGPT has told us to do to create our pivot table. So in the year 1990, for example, let me bolden this a bit so you can see it better. So in the year 1990, all right, now because you don't have commas, it's difficult to know the exact number. So I'm going to add a comma to this one. So while I clicked on this particular number and I go back to my home tab, I click on home at the top left corner, you'd see the comma style. You see this icon over here that looks like a comma. I'll just click on that, called the comma style. And then it puts in commas in between my values. In the year 1990, how many people died? What's the total number of deaths in the year 1990? Just type it into the chart if you can see. In the year 1990, what's the total number of deaths? Just type that in very quickly. In the year 1990, what was the total number of deaths? Chukuma says 43 million, 43,518, absolutely. 43 million, 43 million, fantastic. Now, something that was difficult for us to do by just looking at the data set. Looking at this, it's almost impossible to get that by scrolling down. If you have to filter, you'd still, take 1, 2, 3 steps to get it done. But with the pivot table, it's straightforward. What did we do? We dragged year, dropped it under colons, dragged total death, dropped it under values, and it gave us the summary. And that's what I meant earlier when I said the pivot table helps you do what? Summarize your data set. Now, because I also know how to use Excel, it's not new to me. So ChatGPT is not going to direct me anyway. I can also decide on what to do, if this way is correct or not, if I can achieve what I want from doing this or not. Okay, so what I'll be doing, I want to see the years in a vertical form, not horizontal. And I'll tell you the reason why. Now, if I want to look at what happened in 2005, I need to start, scrolling to the right-hand side to see, which is very tedious. So rather than having it horizontal, I want it vertical. So it's easier for me to see. It's easier to the eyes, and it's even, I would say, it's a lot more better in terms of the format for your analysis. So I would simply, rather than having the year in the colons, remember we dragged year and dropped it under colons. And that's why we have our years under every column. Column B, you have 1990. Column C, you have 1991. Column D, you have 1992. Column E, you have 1993, and so on and so forth. Now I want to change it from being in the columns as horizontal and putting it vertically. And it's as simple and straightforward as you can imagine. I had put it into column initially, right? The next thing is to what? Take it from columns and drop it under rows. So I have it in the rows. So rather than having it under the columns where it is horizontal, I'll simply click and drag here and drop it under where? Rows. And when I do that, you can see it's a lot easier because it is now vertical. So I can see 1990, 43 million, 1991, 44 million, 1992, 44 million, 1993, 45 million, and so on and so forth. All right. And that's the beauty of using the pivot table. You can control what you want. If I take here and I drag it back under columns, what happens? It goes back to the columns. If I take here and I drag it and drop it under rows, what happens? It goes into the rows in a vertical form, which is what I prefer and we want to use. Okay, so now that we can see the grand total, 146 million people have died within the period of 1990 to 2019. Now, this is still in a data form, in a table format. It is tabular. You have your years and you also have the total death. But what we want really is to have it in a graphical format. We want a chart that would show us the trend. Has it been going up or has it been coming down? Was there a particular year where the number of deaths decreased and so on and so forth? So we want to get that out of our pivot table. So we'll go back to ChatGPT to ask. I have created the pivot table just like you advised. Now I want to what? Visualize. I want to represent it in the form of a chart. So let's get back into ChatGPT very quickly. And then I'll type into the chart. Okay, I'll type into ChatGPT and say, let's take it one step at a time. How can I create the pivot charts? This time around, we want to create charts and not tables. We've created the tables to summarize. We want to create charts to visualize. How can I create the pivot charts for each pivot table? All right. So tell me how to create my pivot charts from each pivot table. And then I hit enter. And let's see what ChatGPT generates for us. Again, it gives us the step by step on what we need to do. The mortality trend. If we've created the pivot table already, okay, click anywhere inside the pivot table. Go to pivot table analyze or pivot table tools, depending on your version, and I'll show you what it looks like. Every single thing ChatGPT is telling us to do exists in our Excel. All right. When you've clicked on either pivot table analyze or pivot table tools, you then do what? You click on pivot what? Chart. And then you can select a line chart, which is what we would use. All right. So all these steps, 5 steps that ChatGPT has given to us is what we'd use to create our pivot charts, just like it told us how to create our pivot tables. Now, once we've done this, we'll create about 2 charts and then we'll see how to use the analyze data feature. That's even more fantastic than what you have here on ChatGPT. So we'll create 2 charts using ChatGPT, what ChatGPT has recommended to us, and then we'll go into the analyze data feature that exists in Excel. And we'll also see how amazing that is and see what we can also do with regards to that. Okay, now let's quickly create the very first chart. We've created the pivot table already. So let's create the chart. So what I'll do next is, like ChatGPT said, click anywhere inside your pivot table, anywhere. Click anywhere inside the pivot table. I would like to practicalize. Absolutely, you can practicalize afterwards. You have the recording. Like I mentioned, as long as you stay to the end, you get the recording, and then you get to practice at your own convenience. Okay. Now click anywhere inside your pivot table, anywhere at all. Okay. So we have 43, 44, 44, 45. And we're going to put commas on everything so that it's clear the numbers, the exact number that we have, the total number of deaths that we've gotten between 1990 and 2019. But just before I do that, click anywhere inside the pivot table according to ChatGPT, and then click on pivot table analyze. Now for different versions, it's either you see pivot table analyze or you see pivot table tools. You'd see either of the two, pivot table analyze or pivot table tools. Mine is pivot table analyze. So click on pivot table analyze, and then at the right hand side, you'd see the pivot chart. You'd see the pivot chart. So I'm going to click on pivot chart. All right. And once I click on pivot chart, it gives me the chart dialog box, and I can see the different types of charts that exist. The column chart, the line chart, the pie chart, the bar chart, depending on what I want to use. But because we are creating a trend, we want to see the trend from 1990 to 2019. You represent periods or time using line chart. Okay, so I'll go to the line chart. That's what I want to use, the line chart. And I'll select just the normal line. So there are so many line charts. You have the stacked line charts, you have the 100% stacked, you have line with markers, and so on and so forth. But we'll use the very first one, a normal line chart to represent the trend for us from 1990 to 2019. So I click on the very first one, and then I click on OK. Just exactly what ChatGPT has told us to do. And what do I have? I have the trend of death from 1990 to 2019. From 1990 to 2019. Now, you'll notice that it hasn't captured all the years. You have 1990, 1992, 1994. So it's counting it 2 years, in that order. And that's simply because our chart is not long enough. So we expand the chart, and you'd see that now. If I expand the chart, it would show all the years. Okay, 1990, 1991, 2019. Now, based on this chart that we have, I want somebody to tell me, what do you see? What does this line chart tell you? Or what can you deduce from the line chart that we have on the screen? Anybody who would love to speak, feel free to use the raise hand icon, and I'll call you up to tell us what you think. Tell us what you think about the line chart. Augustina said there is an upward trend. Salem says the deaths are increasing yearly. Absolutely. The mortality rate increase with time. Adeyemo, fantastic. The death increases over the years. Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. As the year increases, the death increases as well. Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. So now we can see that the number of deaths has increased over the years. It's an upward trend from 1990 to 2019. All right. Somebody's saying I should give you the prompt. You'd have the prompts are all in the slides, and you'd get all the prompts from the session today. Okay. Now, because of time, we're only going to create 2 charts. And then I would also show you the analyze feature. That is even more fantastic than what ChatGPT has done. Now, ChatGPT gave us steps on what to do. The analyze feature would create it for us. It's not going to give you steps. It would create the charts, create the pivot tables for you. Okay. And I'm going to be showing you how to get that done as well. All right. Now, this is what our chart looks like. It's an upward trend. The number of deaths has increased over time. Okay. Now I'm going to highlight everything that I have here. Okay. I'll highlight everything. You can do a Control Shift down to select, or you can just use your mouse to select. And then I'll click on the comma style, just like I did initially. And when I do this, it breaks all the numbers with what? With commas. So it's very clear. I can see clearly what the numbers represent. Okay, so what's the total number of deaths? 1.4 billion. 1.4 billion people have died due to several reasons. But we want to know, what is the major cause of death? Because we have that in our data set. The data, we have a column for causes of death. So we want to see what the major cause of death is. And then we'll compare the countries as well. Okay, the major causes of death, would like to see that. So let's quickly create that as well. So let's go back to ChatGPT very quickly. So I'll go back to ChatGPT. We've done number one. Number one is what? Done and dusted. So number two is what? The leading causes of death. So now that we've seen that death is moving at an upward trend from 1990, it's been increasing steadily up until 2019. Now, what's the leading cause of death? What's causing people? What is the leading cause? What's that major reason why people are dying? Maybe we want to see the top 10, the top 20, depending. Okay. So now ChatGPT is also telling us to drag the cause of death to the row area and total death to value. So drag the cause of death to rows and drag total death to values. Put that at the back of your mind, because that's what we're going to do now. Cause of death to rows, total death to values. All right. So let's go back to Excel. Remember what we did the first time to create this one. We'll carry out that same step again. Select your entire data. If your data is not selected, mine is still selected because I've done it the first time. If yours is not selected, you do it again. Control A, select the entire data, then go to what? Go to Insert. And then you click on Pivot Table. All right. Once you click on Pivot Table, ensure you have new worksheet so that it opens up on a new worksheet. Click on OK, and then you have another pivot table. Okay. Now, this time around, we want to see the causes of death, the major causes of death. We've seen that it's been moving over the years, it's been increasing, but what's the major cause? ChatGPT has said, drag causes of death to rows and drag total death to values. So let's do that. Causes of death, I'll drag it and drop it under where? Rows. And then you can see the different causes. The moment you drag and drop under rows, acute, let me maximize so you can see it better. Acute hepatitis, alcohol use disorders, Alzheimer's, cardiovascular diseases, chronic kidney, chronic respiratory, liver cirrhosis, conflict and terrorism, so many reasons, diabetes, diarrhea, digestive diseases, drowning. Now that we've seen the different causes, we want to drag total number of people that died into values as advised by ChatGPT. So I drag total death and I drop it under where? Values. And this gives me the total number. But then again, it's just giving me the number based on the causes of death arranged in alphabetical order. But that's not what we want. What we want is to see the major cause starting from the top. So arrange it in descending order or sort in descending order so that the major cause would be at the top and then would have the next come subsequently, and we have it in descending order from the highest to the lowest. So I'll go to where I have the sum of total death. I would right click on any of the numbers, right click on any of the numbers. Okay. Sort. Go to sort. After you right click on any of the numbers, go to sort and sort largest to smallest. Sort what? Largest to smallest. Now, based on what you see here, I want you to tell me, you can type into the chat if you want to unmute, tell me the top 3 causes, major causes of death. Top 3 major causes of death. Top 3 major causes of death. You can type it into the chat if you want to unmute yourself and speak. I would allow you to unmute yourself. Top 3, cardiovascular, your Deji. That's the major cause, heart diseases. So guys, you need to take care of your, do a lot of cardio exercises, jog, do jumping jacks, as much as you can, do a lot of cardio. So cardiovascular, neoplasms, and chronic respiratory diseases. That's the top 3. That's the top 3. Okay, that's the top 3. Right. So heart attacks and so on. It's actually very worrying that that's the top cause of death across the globe, the number 1. And what I'll simply do, like I did the first time, is to separate them using commas so that we can see the exact number. Is this 44 million? Is it 447 million? What exactly do we have here? So I'll click on the very first one, and I want to select everything from the top to the bottom. So rather than using your mouse to drag, you can simply hold down Control and Shift, the Control and the Shift key. You hold down the 2 keys together and you press down, the down arrow key. So Control, Shift, and the down arrow key. That selects everything from the top all the way down to the bottom. So I'll just do it again one more time, all right? So you can see that my active cell is on the very first number, the total death for cardiovascular diseases. And I want to select all the numbers from the top to the bottom. So I'll hold Control and Shift on my keyboard and press the down arrow key. And that selects everything for me. And then I go to my Home tab and I click on the comma style. Comma style would separate the values with commas. And that's 447 million. And the next is 229. And you can see that it is really a major issue across the globe. Okay. So what we are going to do next is to create a chart out of this. We're going to create a chart. So we want to visualize. It's easier to see, it's easier to understand once you create a chart that represents the data or represents this pivot table in a graphical format. Okay, so the same way, we don't need to go back to ChatGPT because we saw the way ChatGPT told us to create the first pivot chart. Click anywhere in your pivot table, anywhere at all in your pivot table. At the top of your Excel, you'd see the pivot table analyze or pivot table tool, depending on the version of Excel that you have. Mine is pivot table analyze. I'll click on that. All right. At the right-hand side, you'd see pivot chart. I want to create a pivot chart to visualize my data. Data is all about visualization. People can see and they can easily deduce insights from a whole, bunch of data set that makes no sense right at the beginning. So we click on pivot chart. And this time around, we want to use a chart known as the bar chart. The what? The bar chart. Okay, so I click on the bar chart and then I click on OK. All right, and this gives us a bar chart. I'm going to adjust this. Just give me 1 second. Let's make it look a bit better. Now, because we have a whole lot of causes of death, you can see that the bars are very, very slim. The bars are slim. That's number one. Number two is the bar charts act in a way that if you sort from the highest to the lowest, the bar chart would be represented from the lowest to the highest. It does the opposite. Okay. If you sort from largest to smallest, the bar chart would show smallest to largest. So we can work in that manner. And instead of having largest to smallest, we'd sort from smallest to largest, so that the bar chart would also start from largest to smallest. So it does the opposite of what the table contains. The table has largest to smallest. The bar chart is showing what? Smallest to largest. So we're going to flip it around. So I'll go back to my table. There are several ways of doing this. We can format the charts to get it done, but the fastest way is just to come back to the table, right-click on the table, and sort from what? Smallest to largest. And that would adjust the bar chart. Okay, you can see that cardiovascular, chronic respiratory disease, neonatal disorders, but it's not showing everything anymore because we have so many categories. You have so many categories. So it's not showing everything line by line. And this is where data visualization is also very important. So as an analyst, it's not everything you have in the data that might be relevant. What could be relevant could be around showing the top 5 or showing the top 10. What are the major issues? If the World Health Organization, the United Nations, or any other, health-related, public organization wants to address some of these challenges, where should they start from? What should they be looking at? So we want to show the top 10 and not just all the countries, or I beg your pardon, not all the causes, but just the top 10. So what we're going to do to show the top 10, also very simple. We want to filter to show the top 10 causes, okay, or top 5, depending. So I'll go to where I have the causes of death. Where I have the causes of death, and I would right-click anywhere on the causes of death, and I would go to what? Filter. I would go to where? Filter. And under filter, you would see top 10, label filters, value filters. I'll click on top 10. All right. I'll click on what? Top 10. And the moment I click on top 10, what happens? Top 10 items by sum of total death. So it will filter my table to just top 10. That's what it will do for me. I can change the 10 in here to 5. I can change it to 3, depending. If I want to show bottom 10, I can change it from top. If I click on the drop down, I can change it to what? Bottom. And that's the beauty of using Excel to do what? Do your top 10, your bottom 10. But let's see the top 10. That's what we want to see. Top 10, and then I click on what? Okay. So what this does for us is it filters what we had initially, and it shows us the top 10 causes of death: cardiovascular diseases, neoplasms, chronic respiratory. Let's increase the size so we can see. So chronic respiratory diseases, lower respiratory infections, neonatal disorders, diarrhea diseases, digestive diseases, and so on and so forth. Now, we've created 2 charts out of the data set that we have. We're going to do something interesting, which is to make the charts interactive. To make the charts what? Interactive. So because of time, we're not going to do all the 5 like I mentioned. So what we'll do now is to make the charts interactive, whereby if I click on Nigeria, I want to see the major causes of death in Nigeria. And I want to see the trend of death in Nigeria. Okay, so has the trend of death increased or has it decreased over time? What's the major cause of death in Nigeria? And we'll check other countries to also see. That's what we want to do next. Now, to do that, I want to create another tab, a fresh tab. We've worked on this one. We have a table, we have a chart. In our sheet 1, we have a table, we have a chart. I don't want to, play around here. I want to create a new tab. So I simply come down to the bottom where I have the plus sign. Okay, I have the plus sign that says new sheets at the down left corner. I just click on that and it opens up a new sheet for me. Also bear in mind that you can what? Rename your sheets. Okay, you can rename the sheets by right-clicking on the sheets and you click on rename. Okay, so I'm going to right-click on this new sheet I just created and I'll click on rename. I want to call this, let's call it analysis, okay? Or let's call it visuals. Let's just call it visuals because it's not really a dashboard. So I'm just going to call it what? Visuals, and hit enter. So if you right-click on a tab and then you click on rename, you can change the name to whatever you want it to be. So now what I'm going to do is those charts that I created, I'm going to cut them from where they are and paste them in this visuals tab. Okay, I want to take them from where they are and put them in this new, fresh, clean tab so we can work from here. So I'll go to my sheet one, first of all, the line chart we created. I'll cut it. I'll cut the line chart. So who knows how to cut? Who knows how to cut? Who knows how to cut? How do you cut? Shortcuts to cut. Control X. Thank you, Oloyede. Control X. Fantastic, Eyimofe. Control Promise, Gilbert. Thank you. Control X. That's how you cut. Straightforward, yeah? Similar to what you do on Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, similar. Okay, in Excel, it's also Control X. So I'm just going to click on any of the edges of this particular chart. Just click on the edge to select it and cut. Control X. Control X. It cuts it. It takes it away. It's cut it for us. I'll go back to my visuals and I'll paste it in this new page, the new sheet I created. How do I paste? Control V. Control X is to cut. Control V is to paste. Control V. And when I do a Control V, what happens? It pastes my chart for me. I'm just going to expand it a bit. Something like this. Okay, so let's expand. So I'm just going to keep these two charts, this one and the bar chart we created. So let's put this here first of all, something like that. Okay, I'm just going to leave it at this for now. No major formatting. We can make it a lot better, beautify it, make, change the colors, make it look good and fantastic, but we don't have all the time. So what I'll do is I'll change the title to say what? Let's call it mortality trend. Mortality what? Trend. Mortality trend. Okay. I'll highlight it. Let's make it bold. Control B to make it bold. Yeah, let's leave it at that for now. The next step would be to copy the other tab. So I'll go to the next sheet and I'll copy this chart. Similar step, cut it and paste. Control X to cut, and I'll go to my visuals and I'll paste it. Control V. Okay, so I have this. Now, usually when you are creating visuals, your data visualization it's a science and it's also an art. I love the artistic part of data visualization. And why? Because you beautify and ensure that you keep your charts simple. Okay, so there are several principles you follow when visualizing your data. All right, we can't follow everything today because of time, but one of the things I want you to take away from this session with regards to data visualization is what? Less is more. Less is more. Okay, so the fewer the elements you have on a chart, the better it is. So you see all these buttons I have here, so many buttons and things that might not be relevant to that particular visual. You take them out so people don't get distracted by looking at what is not relevant and they can focus on the message you're trying to communicate to them. Okay, so data visualization, concept number one, less is more. Less is more. I'm going to write it down somewhere here. Okay, I'm going to write it down. Please pardon my handwriting. Less is more. Okay, so your visuals are likely going to be more impacting and easier to understand when you have fewer elements. So very, very key. Now, I'll change this title to what? Top 10 causes of death. Okay, top 10 causes of what? Death. How do I take out irrelevance, things that are irrelevant in this chart? So you see this button at the top. I don't need it. I'll right click on it and I'll hide all field buttons. Hide all field buttons. So right click and click on hide all field buttons. So that takes out all those unnecessary buttons. You have something that says total over here. It's not doing anything really, because all the bars are the same color. So you don't need to have this total. It's also irrelevant. Less is more. So I'm going to take this out as well. I can take it out by clicking on it and hitting the backspace key on my keyboard, and that takes it out. Or I can come to this plus sign at the top right corner. Okay, click on that and deselect legend. So you see where you have legend. If you deselect it, it takes out the legend. Or you can just click on it and hit the backspace and it takes it out. Now, I'm going to do something very quickly, which is to add data labels. So I want each bar here, my cardiovascular diseases, I want to see the number right in front of it. So I'll right click on any of the bars, right click on any of the bars and click on what? Add data label. So if you have 400 and something people that died due to cardiovascular disease, put the data label right in front of it. So I'll click on add data label and you see all the numbers: 447, 229, 104, 783, 76. You can see all the numbers, right? Last thing is, now that you have all the numbers in front of the bars, you don't need this axis at the bottom anymore because you already have the labels. So this is not a data visualization class, but I'm teaching you a very critical concept, which is what? Less is more. So now that you have your labels, this becomes redundant. So I click on this axis here that becomes redundant and I take it out by hitting the backspace key on my keyboard. So that takes it out. The next thing I'm going to change or take out are these grid lines. Because I've taken out the axis at the bottom, the grid lines become redundant because it's not showing anything. It's not adding any value to the chart. So remember, things that don't add value, take them out. Less is more. So I can either click on them and press the backspace, or I can deselect the grid line from here. So if I deselect the grid line by clicking on this plus sign, deselect the grid line is gone. Okay, so you can see the chart is neater. If somebody looks at it, they're not looking at a button at the top left, or what is this button, or what is this color, or what do you have at the bottom. They focus on the bars. Okay, now, like I said, we can make the bars a lot wider, but we're not going to waste time doing that because of time. So what I'm going to do now, let's take out our less is more. I'm sure you've gotten the concept of what less is more is. I'll remove all these lines, the grid lines at the background, again, just to make things neater, cleaner, to for the ease of readability, to make it easier to read. So I'll go to my view tab at the top, view, and then I'll remove the grid lines. So if you click on view at the top of your Excel and you deselect grid lines, it takes out all the lines at the background. So it's neater. It's a lot neater for you to work with, all right? Just like you can see at the moment. Okay, so it's a lot neater. I have something very neat. The last step is to put something to give us the ability to filter for different countries. Okay, so now this shows for all the countries, all the different countries. What I want to do, or somebody's saying I'm frustrated. What's the problem? At DBC, I'm just looking at the charts. What's the challenge at DBC? Please let me know what the challenge is and I can help you out. What's the challenge at DBC? And I can help you out, okay? I believe I'm audible. I believe I'm audible. Okay, now what we're going to do is to add something called a slicer. Something called a slicer. When you're building yours, please ensure that you leverage ChatGPT to the fullest. All the 5 visuals, all the 5 insights ChatGPT gives to you, create them. Okay, I don't want to create all the 5 because of time. We'll take another maybe 30 minutes to create all the other ones. But I want to show you 2 fantastic stuff. First of all, we can filter the countries. Secondly, I would also show you how to use the analyze data feature. Those 2 things, and then I'll tell you the skills you need to transition into a data analyst or a data scientist. And I'll open up the room for you to ask questions before we call it a day. Now, I'll click on any of my charts, either the mortality trend or the top 10 causes of death, any of the 2. And I'll go to my pivot chart analyze at the top of my Excel. Okay, I'll click on pivot chart analyze. And when I click on pivot chart analyze and I look at one of the options under filter, I would see something called what? Slicer. Insert a slicer. A slicer is a filter. It helps you slice your data, slice and dice your data. So I click on slicer. All right. And the slicer would ask you, which part of your data do you want to use to insert this slicer? I want to use the country. So I can click on Nigeria, I can click on Ghana, I can click on the US, I can click on United Kingdom, and then it would show me the mortality trend for that specific country and also show me the top 10 for that specific, top 10 causes of death for that specific country. So I'll click on country to select, and then I'll click on OK. And this gives me a slicer. I'm just going to put that here at the right-hand side. Okay, so you can see that my slicer has the different countries: Afghanistan, Albania, Algeria. So let's click on Angola. So if I click on Angola from my slicer, what happens? It's only affected this particular chart. So for Angola, the major cause of death in Angola is what? Diarrhea, followed by lower respiratory infections, but it did not affect the mortality trend. This did not change. Let's click on another country. Let's click on Argentina to see. So I click on Argentina, and this changes again. Cardiovascular, neoplasms, lower respiratory infections. Now, this shows that my slicer is only affecting one chart. And the reason is because this was the chart I clicked on when I created the slicer. So any chart or table you click on and insert a slicer, your slicer would only affect that chart, but you can connect a slicer to all the charts you have. So I can connect this slicer to my mortality trend. So when I click on something, it will not just affect the top 10 causes, but also affect the mortality trend. Okay. So all I have to do to get that done is click on country, click on the country slicer, and I'll click on the tab at the top that says what? Slicer. I click on that, and what do I want to do? I want to go to report connections. I want to connect my slicer to the other chart. So I click on report connections, and you'd see you have 2 pivot tables, okay? It's only selected the second one. It did not select the first. And the reason is because I created my slicer from the second chart. Okay, so I'll just select the first one as well. So now I've selected the first, I've selected the second. I'll click on OK. So whenever I click, it would affect the 2 charts. So let's click and see. Let's go to, first of all, let's go to Ghana. So I'll go all the way to Ghana. And let's click on Ghana and let's see what happens. So I click on Ghana and you can see the trend for Ghana. It's also an upward trend. although it kind of stabilized a bit and dropped a little between 2018 and 2019. But you can see, what are the top 3 causes of death in Ghana? Cardiovascular diseases, which is common across other countries, and also what? Malaria. So you'd not see malaria for a US, for example, as the major cause of death, but malaria was responsible for 721,000 deaths in Ghana. That's unbelievable. All right. So now we've seen Ghana. Let's go to Nigeria. Let's see what Nigeria looks like. So I'll scroll all the way down to Nigeria and I'll click on Nigeria and let's see. This also changes. All right. So Nigeria, what's the major cause of death? Diarrhea, diseases, and malaria. And then lower respiratory and neonatal disorders. But see the numbers. Malaria was responsible for 6.4 million deaths in Nigeria. That's unbelievable. Diarrheal disease, and this would show you the level of poverty in certain rural areas, and that's where you get this type of, specific diseases, diarrheal related diseases, which is waterborne, and that costs over 7 million people to lose their lives, malaria, lower respiratory infections, and so on. So as a data analyst, taking the data from what it was initially, you can then start to advise, and you can then start to talk about recommendations from what you've been able to get from the data set. Now you can see for specific countries what causes death in those countries. Nigeria is diarrhea, malaria, and lower respiratory infections. Let's go to Kenya very quickly. Okay, let's go to Kenya. And I think after Kenya, we do the last one, and then we move back to the slides to start to wrap up. So I click on Kenya. And Kenya, can you see the trend? So you had a very steep rise in the number of deaths from 1990. And by the year 2004, the number of deaths started to what? Drop, started to decline. So you can see that although it increased a little bit again in 2019, but you can see there's been a decline in the number of deaths in Kenya. And what's the major cause of death in Kenya? HIV/AIDS. HIV/AIDS. Now, malaria is out of the top 10 causes, malaria is the second to the last. So you might want to find out, what is Kenya doing right? What is Kenya doing right with regards to malaria? Because when we looked at Ghana, we looked at Nigeria, malaria represented the second highest cause of death in those countries. So you want to look at countries like Kenya. What are they doing right with regards to malaria? That malaria is not really affecting them, even though they are within the same region in Africa. Okay, so HIV/AIDS, cardiovascular diseases, diarrhea diseases, and so on. And this is where you start to get fantastic insights from the data that you have. We could have done a whole lot more, and you'd see how to even create a whole lot more charts. But again, the recording will be made available to you. And when you're creating yours, please take out time to create as many as possible and connect them using a slicer. All right, let's take 5 minutes to do the analyze data feature. Now, what we've done is leveraging ChatGPT to tell us what to do step by step. This time around, we would use the analyze data feature to create it for us. I don't want to stress myself. I don't want to lift my mouse to start to click here, click that, click here, and click that. No, I want AI to get the job done for me, focusing on specific areas. Now let's go back to the data set. Okay, I'll just go back to the data set, click anywhere around the data set. And this is the second AI feature we'll be looking at today. We've seen ChatGPT. We've seen how it can give us results based on the prompts we give to ChatGPT. Now I'll click anywhere in my data set, click on the home tab, and at the right-hand side, you'd see where you have analyze data. This feature you see here is the best, one of the best things that has ever happened to Excel. Analyze data. Okay, I'm going to click on it and let's see what would happen. So I'll click on analyze data. When you click on it and you've clicked anywhere around your data sets, it would select everything from that data. Okay, so it's either you select the entire data and click on analyze, or just click anywhere within the data set and click on analyze. You see all that struggle of selecting, clicking on insert, pivot table, drag years to rows, drag this to values. We're not going to do any of that. Analyze data will do it for us. So look at what analyze data has given to us, okay? The first thing it's showing us here is total death increases over time. This was what ChatGPT first told us to do. And you guys also saw that when we created the line chart, it showed clearly that what? The total number of deaths increased over time, okay? It was moving at an upward trend. So this is the very first insight is given to us. Let's scroll down to see. Second insight is what? Cause of death. Cardiovascular diseases has noticeably higher total death. It's telling us. All right, and you see the magic. We are not going to create anything. We're just going to click and it will create it for us. And it's also showing us something interesting here again. Country, China and India have noticeably higher total death. All right, so let's insert this and see. So if you've seen something you like, oh, this looks interesting, let's create a visual, or let's create the insight in Excel. I click on insert pivot chart. When you click on insert pivot chart, what happens? It creates the pivot table for you. Remember the pivot table we created initially? Analyze data creates it for you. And you remember the chart we created? We just created this. Analyze data creates it for you as well. All you have to do is just format, and then you have your chart good to go. So you don't need to even go anywhere to ask ChatGPT any question. You can get it right directly from Excel. So here you can see clearly that it's telling you that total death increases over time. So just at the click of a button, analyze data, it analyzed these data for you. Let's go to the second one. Cause of death, cardiovascular diseases has noticeably higher total death. We saw that from what we did initially, but let's look at the country. I think this will be more interesting. China and India have noticeably higher total death. So I'll click on this, insert pivot charts, and let's see. This would create another pivot table for us. And then it would also show us the countries and all the number of deaths for those countries. Now, because the number of countries are a lot, you can see that we can't see the countries clearly. So we are going to filter one more time for just maybe top 20. All right. So I'll go to the country over here at the left-hand side. I'll right click. Okay. And I'll go to filter. When I go to filter, I click on top 10. And let's change 10 to 20. So let's say top 20 instead of top 10, top 20. And then I click on OK. So this will change this chart to the top 20 countries with the highest number of deaths. And we can see it has highlighted for us already that China and India have noticeably higher total death. And it has also highlighted them in different colors. So you have China, you have India, you have the United States, Russia, Indonesia, and Nigeria. But this is also relative because of what? The population of these countries. So a good analysis you might want to do is to compare the death rates, total number of people that have died compared to the population. All right, and that will give you a clearer picture. But now, because China is the most populated country in the world, over 1 billion people, you have China also has the highest number of deaths, followed by India, followed by United States, Russia, Indonesia, and Nigeria. But this was done by using the analyze data feature. We didn't have to create anything ourselves. All we had to do was to what? Click on analyze data, and it was done for us. Analyze data can also take questions, just like ChatGPT. And I would ask Analyze data one question. I want to know the insights for HIV/AIDS. Which countries have the highest prevalence of HIV/AIDS? Or which country has the highest prevalence of what? Malaria. So I'm going to ask Analyze data. I'll just simply type in here. So you can see, ask a question about your data. And I would say HIV/AIDS. I'll type HIV/AIDS insights. Okay. Give me HIV/AIDS insights. And then I hit enter. And once you do that, it starts to give you analysis again. All right. The first one is saying cost of death, HIV/AIDS in the year 2004 has the maximum total death in the year 2004. And if we scroll down again, cause of death, HIV/AIDS, country South Africa has noticeably higher death. So when it comes to number of deaths due to HIV, South Africa is the top. So again, let's insert this very quickly. And this is the last thing we'll do in terms of the practical bits. Okay, so I've inserted, and you can see every insertion has suggestion number 1, suggestion number 2, suggestion number 3. So these are the suggestions that Analyze data has given to you. Again, you can see it created the pivot table for you. You didn't have to stress to create it yourself. You also didn't have to stress to create the chart yourself. But now let us filter so that we don't have too many countries. So let's see the top 20, which related to what? HIV death. Similar process, I right click on any of the countries. I go to filter and I go to top 10, all right? And instead of 10, I change it to what? 20. And I click on OK. So this gives me only the top 20. And we can see that the top 20, South Africa has the highest number of deaths. And of course, you can add your labels. So you see the exact number, how many people have died in South Africa, followed by Kenya, then Tanzania, India, and then Nigeria. Okay, and this is the beauty of Analyze data. So if you have reports, if you have analysis to submit to your line manager, you need to do a presentation, you can start off by using Analyze data. It gives you, very clear picture and insights into what the data is all about and how you can, continue to dig deep to get more insights eventually. You can type in more things in your, questions in here, but I'm not going to do that because of time. You can type things like, give me the percentage of total death. You can say, give me the total number of death by country. You can type questions in there, and Analyze data will give you both the pivot table and the chart. Both the pivot table and the chart. And that's the beauty of AI. So when anybody tells you or asks you the question, is AI going to take your job? Tell them simply, AI has come to make my life easier, because I'm going to leverage AI to ensure that I get things done very, very fast. All right, so we're going to leave it at this for now with regards to the practical bits of our class today. And I want to hear from you. I want to hear from you if you have learned something new today and it seems amazing to you. Just type in fantastic in the chat. If you've learned something new, you've seen what ChatGPT can do, you've seen what Analyze data can do in Excel, just type in fantastic. Someone said very amazing. Yes, fantastic, very insightful. Fantastic, fantastic. It's absolutely amazing. So when people tell you that, look, Excel, you want to become a data analyst, you need to go and learn all these very complex, technologies, trust me, Excel will do the most amazing analysis for you. And most organizations, I've worked with too many organizations not to know how important Excel is in your journey as a data analyst. So what we'll be doing in the next 30 to 40 minutes is to walk you through what it takes to become a data analyst or a data scientist. All right? What does it take to become a data analyst or a data scientist? A lot of you want to become data analyst, data scientist, but you have no clue. You don't know what a data analyst does or a data scientist does. But we've seen how to leverage AI. Is this all what data analytics is all about? Or is this all what data science is all about? The answer is no. So let's get to find out. What skills do you need? How long does it take? Because this is where a lot of people have problems. I've had people I had to mentor where they've been trying to transition into data analytics for the last 2 years. They've been watching videos on YouTube. They bought so many materials here and there, but they still cannot transition. And I'll tell you the reason why. To transition into a data analyst or a data scientist, it takes a whole lot more than YouTube. You need a structured learning approach. A structured learning approach. You need to know where to start. You need to know what to learn and when you can start applying to jobs. These are very crucial aspects. Now, once you've learned the technical skill, all the things you need to learn to become a data analyst, what are the soft skills you need to also learn? Because 50% comprises of the technical skill. The other 50% for you to get a job is totally different from you understanding the technical. And I'll be telling you exactly what you need to do and how Tenalytics can also help you achieve that. So before I start, which of these career paths are you interested in? Just type it into the chat. Are you interested in data analytics or in data science? Are you interested in data analytics or are you interested in data science? Type it into the chat. Data science, data analytics, data science, data analytics, data science, data science. Fantastic. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Data analytics, HR analytics, data engineer, financial analyst, data analytics. I can see so many answers, and that's amazing. But first of all, we need to know what's the difference between data analytics and data science. People ask this question all the time, all right? It's one of the most frequently asked questions. What's the difference between business analysis and data analytics? What's the difference between data analytics and data science, the full stack data science? What's the major difference? I'll be explaining this under 3 major criteria. First of all, the scope of the analytics. Secondly, is the type of data that they both work with. And then lastly is the technology. So as a data analyst, what's the scope of your work? What type of data are you likely going to work with? And what's the technology you have to learn to transition into data analytics? So let's get into it. First of all, a data analyst works with descriptive and diagnostic analytics. And I would explain. Type of data, a data analyst works with structured data. And in terms of technologies, you also have the different technologies that a data analyst and a data scientist would have to learn. Let's start from the scope. Now, a data analyst has 2 fundamental objectives. The first thing a data analyst has to do is to answer the question, what happened, which is descriptive analytics. What happened? What we've done today is all descriptive analytics. What happened? So what has happened between the year 1990 to 2019? What happened in Nigeria on this particular date? What is the total number of deaths due to cardiovascular disease? Answering those questions, what happened, is called descriptive analytics. How much did we make in January? How much did we make in Q1? In the first quarter, the second quarter? They are all descriptive analytics, answering the question, what happened? So that's the very first thing a data analyst would do. Answer the question, what happened, which is descriptive analytics. Number 2 is diagnostic. So once you know what happened, the next question is, why did it happen? So you're going a little bit deeper into the data. You're looking at trends and events or patterns that could have happened within that period that led to that thing happening. So in Q1, we made $500 million. In Q2, our revenue dropped to $300 million. That is what happened, descriptive. 500 in Q1, 300 in Q2. The next question is, why did it drop? You start to look for patterns and events. Oh, we reduced the number of training that we offer, or we reduced our marketing budget. So you dig a little bit deeper into the data. You try to find patterns that relate to that specific issue that happened within that period. And that's the role of a data analyst. You are building dashboards, you are showing what happened, you're answering the question why it happened, and recommending to the company, because this happened and this is the reason why it happened. For us to avoid it from happening, this is what we need to do. It can also be positive. Oh, we had an increase or we had a rise in our revenue between Q1 to Q3. And this is the reason why we had the increase. So for us to sustain the increase, because knowing what you did right means you can double down on that and improve and keep on increasing and doing well in that regard. So descriptive analytics, what happened, diagnostic analytics, why it happened, is what the data analyst is focused on. The data scientist, on the other hand, would do the descriptive analytics, answer the question, what happened, why it happened, diagnostic analytics, but we'll take it a step further. What will happen, or what is likely going to happen, predictive analytics. That's the major difference. The data scientist goes a step further to answer the question, what is likely going to happen, to predict into the future, to look into the future. And that is where forecasting, machine learning all comes from. All right. So as a data scientist, you'd learn a lot of forecasting techniques, and the fundamental of forecasting and statistics and machine learning is hinged on statistics. And that's one of the major differences between the data analyst and the data scientist. Data analyst, descriptive and diagnostic. What happened? Why did it happen? Data scientists, what happened? Why did it happen? And what is likely going to happen in the future? Can we look into the future to know what is likely going to happen? I was doing a whole lot of predictive analytics over the journey, my career journey, because when you do predictive analytics, what happens? Organizations can plan for the future. All right. If we we produce electricity, we supply electricity to our customers. From Monday to Friday, when are we likely going to have an increase in demand from our customers? If Fridays are the days where we have increased demands, then we want to ensure that all the generators that generate electricity are all on top-notch shape, and ensure that we don't have maintenance issues and we are able to supply our customers the right amount of electricity. So we plan for the future because we can see what is likely going to happen in the future based on what happened in the past. So that's the difference in terms of the scope. Now, when you go to the type of data, data analyst largely works with what? Structured data. What is a structured data? A structured data is what we've worked with today. So when you go to Excel, all right, and you see data in this form, in the form of rows and columns, you have data row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, row 5. You have columns, column A, column B, column C. If you have data in this form, shape of rows and columns, you have data that can be fitted into rows and columns. That's structured data. All right. So a data analyst would work a lot with structured data, similar to what we've done today. However, a data scientist would work with both structured data and unstructured data. So what is unstructured data? Unstructured data is our data sets that cannot be fitted into rows and columns. Pictures, for example, images. If I take a picture and I send it to you, can you put it in Excel in rows and columns? The answer is no. If I send an audio file to you, an MP3, MP4 file to you, or a video to you, at the end of this session, you get the recording, and you can play the recording on your mobile phone, on your computer. Can you fit that recording, the video file, into rows and columns? The answer is no. So those files that you cannot fit into rows and columns, they are unstructured data, but they are also data that can be analyzed. And that's where the data scientist learns the techniques to convert unstructured data into structured data, convert that image into structured data that can be analyzed to extract insight and to create models out of those unstructured data sets. All right. So in this regard, the data scientist learns more enhanced set of skills and techniques to handle unstructured data. All right. Now, when it comes to technologies, as a data analyst, you would learn problem solving. That's the very first thing you would learn, because you need to know how to break down problems into multiple parts and so on and so forth. Then you learn Excel. We use Excel today. You learn Power BI for data visualization. You learn Tableau. You learn SQL, structured query language. Structured query language helps you interact with databases. Organizations would have their data in a database. How do you analyze the data from that database? Data is not always in Excel. We see data in Excel, like we've seen today, and we've done analysis. We've seen some interesting stuff. In the real world, organizations would have their data in a structured environment, in a structured system called a database. You then have to interact with that database using SQL, structured query language, to get and extract data, manage data that exists in that database. As a data analyst, you would learn Microsoft Fabric. Microsoft Fabric is a new tool, is a new platform recently introduced by Microsoft. It encompasses different areas with regards to data analytics. It's a fantastic all-in-one platform, and we introduced this into our curriculum. You will not go anywhere else and see a data analytics program that entails Microsoft Fabric. And that's what makes us different from every other competitor out there. We move with the trend of what is obtainable in the market. All right. So Microsoft Fabric as a data analyst is a new technology from Microsoft. It's important for you to also move with that trend. So when you get into interviews, you have the opportunity to have conversations on the new technologies and showing that you can also leverage those technologies and do amazing stuff. And of course, ChatGPT for analytics. We've seen the tip of the iceberg on what ChatGPT can do. So these are the technologies as a data analyst that you need to learn, you need to know to get a job anywhere across the globe. On the other hand, as a data scientist, because you would include predictive analytics to what you have to do, you're going to look into the future, you're going to forecast to tell what will happen in the future. You learn statistics. Machine learning, forecasting is all hinged on statistics. All right, that's the very first thing. Of course, you'd also learn Excel. Excel is the most versatile analytic tool you'd ever learn. So as a data analyst, you learn Excel. Data scientist, you learn Excel. Similar with SQL. As a data analyst, you're going to learn SQL, learn it as well as a data scientist. You learn Tableau as a data analyst and as a data scientist as well. All right. You'd also learn Microsoft Fabric. You'd learn Python. This is another major difference. So as a data scientist, the machine learning models you're going to create, all the different forecasting techniques and so on, you would learn Excel for forecasting. You'd also learn how to create machine learning models, both supervised learning models and unsupervised using Python. So you learn how to program your EDA, exploratory data analysis, data visualization, machine learning, and computer vision, you'll be doing that using Python. All right. So again, for some people, they would say that, look, I don't want to bother myself learning how to program. I'm over 40. I want to transition into tech. And this is not the way. I don't think I can, put my head down to start to learn Python at this point in time. And we have so many people in that boat. They tell us that this is what they want to do. They can't learn how to program at this point in time. So you don't have to code to get into tech. We always say this. And that's why it's good for you to know the difference between the two. Can I do data analytics or can I do data science? If I want to move into data science, I know I have to code. I know I have to do statistics. I have to create machine learning models and so on. Not that those things are difficult. We've broken it down in a way that is going to be the easiest thing you'd ever learn. However, for some people, that's not the way to go for them. All right. So you'd learn Python, you'd learn ChatGPT for analytics. Anaconda is an environment where you'd be leveraging tools like Jupyter Notebook to write your Python codes and so on and so forth. And of course, Pandas and so many other Python libraries that you'd have to learn. So you'd see in terms of the technologies, there are similarities, but there are also differences between the two. So you'd see the major difference between in terms of scope of analytics, in terms of the type of data, and also the type of technology. As a data analyst, your average salary, like I mentioned, problem solving, you learn Excel, you learn SQL, you learn Power BI, you learn Tableau, you learn data storytelling, how to tell stories from the data that you've analyzed, similar to what we've done today. But you learn how to tell a story so that whoever needs to take a decision can take that decision. ChatGPT and then Microsoft Fabric for analytics. These are the things you need to learn, okay, as a data analyst. And on the average, in the UK, you earn an average of about £40,000 per annum. In Canada, is about 64,000 Canadian dollars, and in the US, about 72,000 US dollars. How long would it take for you to get all these skills as a data analyst? 4 months. 3 months project-based classes, and 1 month free internship. All right. And I'll emphasize a bit on the project-based classes because this is where we do our best work. For a lot of people, they watch videos upon videos upon videos, but then they get case studies during the recruitment, process. A potential employer gives them a case study to solve, and they have no clue on how to solve that problem, which is a major issue. So when you ask the question, how can I learn Excel? How can I learn how to do amazing stuff using Power BI? How can I use Tableau to create dashboards, to solve problems? Then you need to work on projects. And that's why your classes are project-based. All the classes are 10. I'll show you the platform, and for those that started in September, what they've been doing and how they've been learning. You learn by working on projects. If you learn VLOOKUP in Excel, you learn pivot tables, just like we've done today in Excel. The next thing you'll be doing is applying those skills to solving a real-world problem. So if I'm on the job today as a data analyst, how will I leverage this particular skill? How would I use the VLOOKUP to solve a real-world problem? So it's a project-based learning environment, and you work on projects every single week. And then you get to intern with us, 1 month internship. The beauty of the internship is we've designed it to simulate the real-world environment. All right. So you find yourself collaborating with different team members from the data science team, from the data engineering team. So you're working together to solve problems for an organization. All right. Last month, what we also did was we had an organization that needed to solve a problem. Okay, they needed to solve a problem, and they reached out to us, and we said, look, we're going to do it for you pro bono, free of charge. Our data analysts, data scientists, and HR analysts worked on the problem together. I supervised them. We completed our project, and we were able to give insights and recommendations to that company. So these are the type of things you do. And how it helps you in the future is you have that on your CV. When you go into an interview in front of an interview panel, you'll be speaking to them from the point of knowledge, from the point of doing, you've done it before. So there's a proof of work. You have that in your portfolio. Because what you do at the end of the internship is to have a portfolio of all the projects you've solved, all the things you've done. So when they ask you, all you have to do is you have the link on that CV. They click on the link and then they can get across to all the projects you've seen, they can review, and that gives you a better standing compared to anybody else who has been learning. So what this does is it shortens the learning, curve for you compared to somebody who is learning without the right type of project, learning without understanding what to start, where to stop, how to apply to jobs, and so on and so forth. All right. Now, for the data science, on the other hand, and again, the classes are also flexible. So all our classes are flexible in terms of when the classes hold. So we have classes Saturdays and Sundays. However, the Saturday class is broken into 2 different classes as well. So on Saturday, we have a morning class from 11 to 2 West Africa time. And this is usually for those joining us from Nigeria, joining us from the UK, joining us from different countries across Europe, because they have similar time zones. Now, if you're in the US, for example, or you're in Canada, we have a time that also fits your region. So we have an evening class from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. on Saturday. All right. So this is favorable for those in Asia, in the US, in Canada, because you have similar time zones. So 4 p.m. West African time in Canada is around 11 a.m., 10 a.m. Okay. So depending on the province where you are in Canada, for example, you get to start your class at a very good time, not odd hours. And you get to also learn from the best in the industry. So that's how the Saturday class goes. Now, on Sundays, you don't have a live class. And that's where you have the blended learning approach. So on Sundays, you have something we call the Watch Me Do It videos. Those Watch Me Do It videos are bite-sized videos of things you get to watch. You learn those things. And then on Saturday, when you have the practical class, you get to work on a project together with a trainer and a facilitator like myself. So I'll show you how to build things. You do the same thing. And if you have questions, you have the opportunity to engage your trainer real time to get your questions answered, immediately, right on the call. Again, for the data science, you'd learn statistics, like I mentioned. Okay. And this is different from statistics, the way you learned it in high school. And also, maybe some of you did statistics at the early part of your university. You've learned the measure of central tendency several times, but you still struggle to understand what is mean, the median and the mode. How is it relevant to solving real world problems? And this is where the practical application of all these concepts gives you the skills to help solve problems. All right. So you're going to learn how to apply these techniques, apply the mean, the median, and the mode, the measure of central tendency to solve real world problems. You learn forecasting and predictive analytics using Excel, different forecasting techniques, exponential smoothing. You learn how to use the linear regression. You learn the naive approach to forecasting, the moving average technique to forecasting, and so many other forecasting techniques. You'd learn Tableau for predictive analytics, SQL to interact with databases, Python, which is a language you'd use to do the amazing work you'll be doing, from your exploratory data analysis to your machine learning and to your computer vision. All right, I'll show you the computer vision projects our participants have built. Now, let me explain what a computer vision application can look like in terms of applying the knowledge of computer vision. You can all see me on the Zoom call. You can see myself, and then you have a Tenalytics background. All right. However, I don't have a banner behind me. I have other stuff. I have a shelf behind me. I have a chair behind me, but you cannot see. You can only see my hands, my face, my glasses, my shirt. And that's what computer vision does. So Zoom has implemented a computer vision program that recognizes my posture. So it's not going to show anything else that exists in my background, but only show the person that it can see. Okay, so you wonder how that is done. Okay, so it is done using computer vision. I'm going to build similar projects, and I'll show you, I have it on my slide, what some people have built after completing our program with regards to computer vision. In the UK, the average salary for a data scientist is about £50,000. In Canada, it's about 94,000 Canadian dollars. And in the US, it's six figures, 121,000 US dollars. Absolutely amazing if you work as a data scientist and you have the opportunity to work remotely. I'll be sharing the story of Abdul Rashid, who lives in Kwara State, Ilorin, Kwara State in Nigeria. He joined our program and he works for a company in the US remotely out of Nigeria. All right. And so many other success stories I'll be sharing with you as well. So you have the opportunity to put your skills into practice. And that's why it's called global tech talents. They are global skills that gives you the opportunity to compete for the best jobs available globally. Just like the data analytics, we have your classes are also very flexible. All right. You have classes that fits the EU time zone. So if you're in the UK, if you're in Nigeria, across Africa, if you are across Europe, you have similar time zones. So you can fit into the class in the morning, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Saturday. If you're in the US, you're in Canada, you are somewhere across Asia, you have totally different time zone. All right. The evening class from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. fits your time zone. All right. Sundays, like I mentioned, are for the Watch Me Do It videos. You don't have a live class. It's a self-paced class on Sunday for you. You watch all the things you need to watch, understand and practice. And then the following Saturday, you get to work on a project. So it's a blended approach. So for those who say, oh, I'm not a very fast learner, you're not learning every day. And that's one of the things, the ways we are used to learning. Every day you have to watch videos, you have to learn something. And it becomes overwhelming. You can't really learn anything. So here you have the opportunity to watch videos on Sundays at your convenience, self-paced. On Saturdays, you get to be in a class in front of your trainer. You can ask questions and so on and so forth. Now, one of the things people would also ask is, as a data analyst, can I only apply to jobs as data analyst? And this is where the other part of what gets you the job. Remember, I talked about 50%. All the things I've talked about as a data scientist, you need to learn statistics, Python, Excel, Power BI. Those are the technical skills, 50%. The other 50% is what gets you the job, okay? And I'll break that down in the next couple of minutes. I'm going to wrap up my presentation in about 14 minutes, and then I'll open the floor for you to ask your own questions, and let's take questions and answers, all right? You don't only have to apply to jobs as a data analyst, even though you have completed a data analytics program. And these are some of the things we'll teach you, the job application process. You can work as a data analyst, as a supply chain analyst, as a business intelligence analyst, because the same skills required or needed for a business intelligence analyst are the same skills you'll be learning in data analytics. You can work as a marketing analyst, product analyst, sales analyst, logistics, operations, business data analyst, and so many other, different nomenclature for the data analytics career path. And these are the things we'll bring to you to help you streamline your job search during the application process. As a data scientist, you can work as a fraud analyst. You can also work as a data analyst, all right? Because you have the skill sets and also some of the technologies that a data analyst would also learn. You'd have that as a data scientist. So you can operate in that regard as well. Sales analyst, market research analyst, logistics analyst, supply chain management analyst, and so on. All right. Now, this is just to give you a broad picture of the numerous jobs available. And if we have time, if you want me to show you, we'll look at different sites together on the demand of data analysts and data scientists across different regions from the US to the UK. And I'll show you how people are doing their masters in the UK, but working for companies in the US. All right. When you're doing your masters, you have a limit or a limitation of 20 hours. All right. So how do you beat that limitation? How do you work full time? Especially a time that favors you eventually, because you're in the UK, you're working for a company in the US. So by the time you are done with your classes at, say, 3 p.m., you are resuming work with the company in the US at around 5 p.m. All right. So you get to earn fantastic salaries at the end of the day. So I'll show you how to get that done as well. Why should you train with us? The major reasons why you want to train with us, like I've shown you over the last few slides, up-to-date curriculum. You'll not find anywhere else where a data analytics program has ChatGPT for analytics and also has Microsoft Fabric. We design our programs to move in line with the market trend, the market demand. What does the market want? What are the new technologies, the new trends in that space? Industry experts, you work with the best in the industry. You work with professionals that have not only been there before, but they currently still work as data analysts across the biggest organizations you can imagine, from Apple to Microsoft to Deloitte to PwC, KPMG, and the major, largest organizations across the globe. Those are the professionals that will be teaching you, showing you what to do as a data analyst or as a data scientist. You also have a blended learning approach. All right. Oh, I'm a slow learner. I don't learn very fast. Oh, I don't think this is a bit overwhelming. I don't think I want to learn how to code. But because of the blended approach that we put in place for you, you have the opportunity to have time over the weekend on Sunday to calm things down, to watch your videos at your own convenience, and you have a whole lot of support system to help you navigate the deep waters eventually. All right. Of course, somebody's asking, can I also work as a machine learning engineer? Absolutely. Absolutely, you can. The additional employability services that we offer, I would say that's what has made us so successful over the last 3 years. All right. We don't just train you and give you the skills. No, because we know if we do that, we've only given you 50%. What are those additional benefits in terms of employability skills that you must have to get the job? If you don't have it, you cannot get a job. It's as simple and short as that. And that's what I have on my next slide. I'll break it down very quickly to you, so you have a clear idea. When you're learning Excel, you're learning Power BI, you're learning SQL, those are technical. Everybody can learn it. Everybody can learn those technologies. But what separates you from the competition, right? And those are the additional employability services that we bring to you. And of course, you also get to intern with us. You have an internship that is designed to simulate the real life work environment. So you learn and you also get experience that you showcase to recruiters. And that gives you the confidence that you need to get a job out there. And once you have all of this, what it gives you is what? You become a master data analyst or a master data scientist, depending on the program you'd like to go for. Now, what are those additional, employability services? Number one is your CV. A lot of people I've seen them, okay? They've come to me and I've asked them questions that even somebody who is 10 years experience as a data scientist would struggle. And they answered the question. And I'm wondering, why have you been struggling to get a job? Send your CV to me. Let me have a look. And it's all in the CV. There is no link to your GitHub profile. For those that have GitHub profiles, they don't have quality projects to showcase in the GitHub profile. Now, your CV is your representation in paper format. If I see your CV, would I be interested in listening to you? That's the question you need to ask yourself. How do you ensure that your CV passes the ATS system? All right, ATS, Applicant Tracking System. No human being would look at 1,000 CVs to get somebody, recruited into the company. A machine does it for them. So the machine looks at keywords from the job application, the job vacancy, and also looks at the keywords in your CV. If those keywords don't match, your CV is thrown out. You get, unfortunately, we don't think you are a match for the job and blah, blah, blah. You get those emails, right? So how do you structure your CV, align or tailor your CV to meet the job specifications of the particular job you're trying to get? Number 2 is LinkedIn optimization. How do you optimize your LinkedIn profile in a way that if I look at your CV and I look at the job you've applied to and I look at your LinkedIn, it aligns. Your LinkedIn is your number 1 repository of your project. Do you talk about data science and data analytics? If you don't have a LinkedIn profile, we'll work with you to create one. If you have one, we help you optimize, all right? Upwork optimization. A lot of you want to work remotely. You want to work on projects for companies in the US. You want to work on projects for companies in Germany, across Europe. How do you get those jobs without an online profile that shows that you've done this before or you can do this? So we help you create an Upwork profile. If you have one already, we help you optimize the Upwork profile, all right? Navigating the job market. I speak about this all the time because it's always very dear to our mission as a company at Tenalytics. Because I see a whole lot of people here in the UK, for example, they leave Nigeria, they leave their countries, they come into the UK, and all they're doing is care jobs, support jobs, working in the warehouse, without a clear career progression. This is what I want to do going forward, all right? And that's so sad. So majority of them, you find out that they have no clue on what they need to do to transition from a student visa to a skilled worker visa, for example. And these are the information we bring during the navigating the job market sessions. We show you what you need to do. If you're in Canada, for example, what are the different pathways available for you to take? How do you ensure that you are able to meet the point you require to make that transition from your student visa to a tier 2 skilled worker visa? And I'll share a very interesting story with you. You'd listen to the person speak yourself. A housewife, full-time housewife in the UK. She's been here for about 4 years. She's not worked professionally for the last 4 years. She joined our program, and today she works as a data analyst with the NHS, fully sponsored. And when you say a visa is sponsored, it means that company has given that particular employee the opportunity to stay and work in the country. All right, so you have a visa to work for 5 years and then transition into an indefinite leave to remain, which you can also transition into a British citizenship eventually. Now, recommendation and reference letters. Here you need to have somebody to vouch for you, to say that, look, you've done this before, we can vouch for you, you're of good character, so they can go ahead and employ you, right? Again, if we have enough time, I'll show you what a typical reference looks like. And the most recent one that I filled, the lady that you're going to be hearing from, the lady who was a housewife for the last 4 years and got a job with the NHS after training with us, I wrote her reference for her. The organization wanted to know, can this lady do the job? Is she of good character? And of course, if you join our program, complete the project-based classes, complete your capstone project, complete your internship, you get the best jobs available out there. So we can vouch for you that you're the right ambassador for Tenalytics. And of course, interview preparation. The lady, again, I'm picking back on the lady worked with one of our superstars in-house, Mohammed. Mohammed was, worked with her during her interview preparation, showed her what to do, how to prepare for Excel, how to prepare for the assessment. And she was able to do very well and she got the job, right? So we prepare you for interviews so you know what to say when you get into the room. We have weekly mentorship sessions to hold your hands, literally helping you transition, and also on the job support. You've gotten a job and you have that imposter syndrome. I don't think I'm good enough to do this job. We work with you to ensure that you are able to get, that level. You get your feet right on the ground so that you can get the job going. So we have on-the-job support to keep you going and ensure that you put your very best self forward. And of course, I talked about the internship already and why it is very, very important. So you're going to work on 6 real-life projects during your internship. You have a project review with an expert. You add the internship to your CV. It's absolutely important that you do this. Absolutely important. You have a portfolio, you have the link to your portfolio of all your projects, and that's what gives you, the job access that you need from recruiters eventually. All right. So some of the projects you would work on from Castro Technologies, where you'll be helping a company to, implement employee-related benefits based on the performance of the employees. So the company has a problem, they want to implement something. You as the analyst or as a data scientist would help them address that challenge. Nestle Product Analytics, you'd work on a product analytics case study where you'd help Nestle understand what is going on in their business, an online food delivery company. You'd work on fraudulent cases. A bank has fraudulent transactions, and you as a data scientist, is your role to help them understand transactions that are fraudulent and flag those transactions. All right. The transactions you'd carry out, and you receive an email to say, if you haven't executed this transaction, please let us know so that we can stop the transaction. So that stems from what? Machine learning models that have learned fraudulent transactions and can tell if a transaction is fraudulent or not. All right. You'll be working on that type of project as well. Okay. People are asking how much is the program? How much is the program? And so on. Okay. We are getting there. We are getting there very shortly. So you work on an employee attrition case study. You'd also work on analyzing data science salaries from across the globe. You'd work on an aviation related project where you'd help a new airline, a new company within the aviation industry, trying to understand their customer buying patterns and how to recommend the optimal, methods for them to get the best value across to their customers and also increase their revenue as well. So many interesting projects you're going to work on. You have all of them in the slide. Now, I talked about the computer vision project I was going to show you that our participants built. And these are hand detection projects, pose detection projects from people who had never done this before. They had no clue. They have no idea how to do this, but they did this using Python, and just watch and see. So that's a pose. You can see the hand detection. She's moving her hands and she's having her camera can detect that her hands are moving. Okay, so that's part of the computer vision project you're going to work on. You can see the lady at the bottom, the pose detection. She's moving and she created a program that can detect her pose. And you can see the different projects, the computer vision projects. These people built, they uploaded it on LinkedIn, and you can see how super excited they are to build amazing projects like this: hand detection, pose detection, face detection projects, and so on. So you can see the lady at the bottom dancing, and it's still recognizing her pose. Okay, so these are the type of projects you are going to work on. You'd work with the best in the industry. You'd work with myself, the founder of Tenalytics. You'd work with Efemena, the co-founder. You'd work with experts, industry experts within the space as well. You'd work with Mohammed, who is the superstar that helped the lady Ikmat to get her job. You'd work with Oladapo, who is a senior consultant with Deloitte in Bermuda. He's going to be your Excel expert to help you understand how to use Excel. You'd work with Olugbemi, who is a business data analyst in Canada with a law depot in Canada. He's going to work with you on Power BI to help you achieve amazing stuff. You'd work with Brima, who is a senior data associate with Tenalytics, helped so many people transition, has a first class, super amazing, brilliant professional. So you'd work with all these people. You'd work with Ibrahim. Ibrahim is a medical doctor who is also a machine learning engineer. All right. He's a medical doctor who is also a machine learning engineer. You'd work with Abdulrahman, who works with a Big Four in the UK here as a data science consultant. You'd work with Chinazam, who works with DPD as a data scientist. DPD is one of the largest logistics company across Europe. You'd work with him as well. You'd work with Emmanuel and so many other professionals across the globe. All right. Now you have so many websites where you can apply to jobs, sponsored jobs, apply to jobs that, transition your visa from one particular category to the other. And these are the things we bring during your navigating the job market session. You don't miss those sessions for anything. All right. So if you're in Canada, you have different other sites. We're going to make this available to you, show you practically how to apply to these jobs. And for those that want remote jobs, you also have the opportunity to work with different sites, built-in, well-found, Flex Jobs, Upwork, Remote.co, fantastic websites to help you land remote jobs. All right. Our next cohort starts on the 7th of October, 2 Saturdays from now. And you have the unique opportunity to be a part of these new cohorts starting on the 7th of October. How much is the program? What do I need to do to get into the program? That's the message I've been getting in my inbox. All you have to do, but remember, I have an amazing discount for people that are currently on the call, all right? All it takes for you to be a part of the cohort that starts on the 7th of October is £400 or 320,000 Naira, depending on how you are paying. We also give you the opportunity to make payment in 2 installments. If you are paying in pounds, £250, 150. If you are paying in Naira, 200,000, 120. This is the original fee. However, I have a special discount for everybody on the call. For the first 20 people, not everybody, I beg your pardon. For the first 20 people from this call that are interested in being a part of the program. So to be a part of the program, all you have to do for the first 20 participants to register from this call. So ensure you fill the attendance form so we know you are from this particular session, all right? So for the first 20 people to register, rather than paying £400, you get to pay £300 to be a part of the program. And you can also break the payment into 2 installments, £200 to get registered, receive a welcome kit that contains all the materials that you need for the program. You saw the data analytics, you saw the data science. You need to install Anaconda, you need to install Jupyter Notebook, you need to install Excel, Power BI. You'd have all of that in your welcome kit once you have registered by making the payment of £200. And if you have, the second payment comes in 1 month after the program has commenced, okay? So the first payment is made before the program starts, the first 20, £200 to get started. And 1 month after the program commences, you pay the balance of £100. If you're paying in Naira, instead of paying 320, you get to pay 270,000, all right? 180 to get registered and get into the class. And then the balance of 90,000 1 month after the program has commenced. And if you're paying in Canadian dollars, instead of 600, you get to pay 500 Canadian dollars, 350 to get started, and then 150 1 month after the program commences. All right. So that's what it takes to be a part of our training program. Amazing training where you also get to get all the additional employability services and also the 1 month internship. So you immerse yourself for a full month, getting all you need to start your journey in data analytics or data science. All right. I'm going to play the video. It's a 2-minute video where you listen to Ikmat. Ikmat came to the UK. She's been a stay-at-home mom for 4 years. She joined our program because she needed to move into the job market. All right. She needed to get a job. She needed to earn some money here in the UK. So she joined our program, Data Analytics. She completed the program. We worked with her during her interview and she got a job with the NHS, fully sponsored as a data analyst. So you get to listen to Ikmat. in the next 2 minutes. Now, how do you make payments? How do you make payments to join the class? My colleagues would send the link to the chat, or you simply click on the link you have here. So once you receive the slides and you click on this link, it takes you into the page where you can make payments. And we've also made so many payment options available for you. So it's easy for you to make payment, irrespective of where you are, all right? Now, if you're in Nigeria, for example, let's assume you're in Nigeria, all you have to do is you make payments using the Naira card option, all right? So you can make payments using Paystack. All you have to do is click on the link you have here, and then it takes you into the Paystack platform, all right? So you have data analytics. If I click on data analytics, I can either make the full payment or I can make the part payment. So I click on this drop down and select full or part payment. Now, if I select full payment, it gives me the discounted fee of 270. Remember, the discounted fee is only available for those currently in this session. All right. If you want to make the part payment, click on the drop down, click on part payment, and then you get to pay the part payment of 180 to join, and you make the balance payment 1 month after. So this is payments using the Paystack. You have the option to also make payments for those that are across Europe. If you are in Europe, for example, you are in Canada, you are in Europe, you want to make payments using PayPal, all right? All you have to do is click on any of the links here if you want to make the full payment or the part payment. So if I click on part payments, right, it takes me into the PayPal page, and you can see the Tenalytics Tech Career Program part payment, £200. That's the initial payment. If I click on buy now, I would need to then enter my details. So if you have a PayPal account, fantastic. If not, you can make payments without PayPal. So if I click on PayPal, it will give me the option to enter my card details. All right. So it's asking for me to get a code and so on for me to start, because I have an account with PayPal. All right. So if you click on that, at the bottom, you'd see where to enter your card details, and you can make payments using your card on PayPal. All right. You can make the full payment as well. And so you have those two options. And if you want to do a direct transfer, if that is convenient for you, you can either pay into our UK account using this account details, or you can pay into our Naira account using this Fidelity Bank account details. Now, once you make payments, what happens? What do you need to do? How do we confirm your payments? How do you get into class? Very straightforward. Once you make payments, let's assume you do a transfer, a bank transfer, direct transfer into our account. All you have to do is click on upload your initial or full payment receipts. So once you click on this, that's all you need to do. You fill the form and then upload your proof of payment, and that's all you need to do. Once you've entered your email, for example, you've entered your first name, your last name, all the other details, you'd see where to upload your proof of payment. Upload it, and then we confirm your payment, and you receive a welcome kit from us. The welcome kit contains everything that you need to get the program started on the 7th of October, 2023. And of course, you also have the account details in here. What I would advise you to do, if I were you, to take advantage of the discounts available, because guess what happens every single month? People join the masterclass, free masterclass like this, have an amazing time. They learn fantastic stuff and they want to get started, but then they don't make up their minds. And eventually the discount would be off the table. And that's when they eventually decide to come running to say, oh, please, can I still have the discount or not? All right. What typically happens within 2 days, by Monday, all the discounted slots are gone. By Monday, the whole 20 slots are gone for both the data analytics and the data science. So I would recommend that you take a screenshot of the account details if you want to do a direct transfer to make payments to join or be a part of the training program. All right. Let's get to listen to Ikmat. Ikmat's story, like I mentioned, is a fantastic story, but I also want to get your questions. So once we've listened to Ikmat, I'll start taking your questions. It's a 2-minute video, absolutely amazing. Let's get to see how Hikmat was able to learn with Tenalytics, learn with us from April. She joined in April. She learned with us for 4 months. And today, Hikmat works with the NHS with full sponsorship. So what I'm going to do is I'll quickly just play this for you. And I would also advise that you follow us on our YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn to see the amazing work we've been doing. So let's click on the link to listen to Hikmat, and then I'll come back to take your questions.
There's lots of
Hikmat, and I was with the March cohort in 10.
Okay, please just confirm that you could hear Hikmat's audio. Just type in a yes if you could hear Hikmat, and then I'll continue playing. All right, brilliant. Okay, so let's listen to Hikmat, everybody.
My name is Hikmat, and I was with the March cohort in Tenalytics, and joining Tenalytics has been the best decision so far. You know, for me, someone coming from a background of full housewife, because I had to stay back home to look after my child for 4 years, and then wanting to break into something new, wanting to go back into the workforce, you know, wanting to place myself in the society for better job opportunities. So it was a lot. And then I'm glad that Tenalytics came along, and then they presented me with so many opportunities right in front of me, better opportunities. And then I'm glad I took it. And then also the advice of do not sell yourself short, that Effie is always saying, it is very, very valid, because place yourself right, you know, don't sell yourself short. It's a very, very, very valid advice. You know, in Tenalytics, they will hold your hands like a child, you know, through the modules. You have the opportunity to go back and study. You have the opportunity to go back and practice. You have the opportunity to ask questions. You know, you have people you can always go back to, even outside of class hours. It's the most amazing experience so far, really. And then another thing is the interview prep, guys. That is another very important thing. I did my interview prep with Mr. Mohammed, and it is the best decision ever, because it was like he saw into the future. He knew what was going to be asked. And I'm glad that I wrote down all the things he mentioned. I went back to practice, and then when it was time for the interview, it was like everything he was mentioning, everything he mentioned, it was just, they kept on. And then when I was answering those questions, I was so confident, you know, because I already practiced. I did an Excel test, I did a maths test, and then they were really impressed. And another thing is, guys, it may not come as fast as you expect. Definitely you are going to get some no's, and then you may begin to think you're not good enough. You are good enough, yes. The no's will come, but always take it as a basis for learning and development, because after every interview where I got a no, I always make sure I get a personal feedback. So I work on those feedbacks for my next interviews. And yes, it worked. It really worked for me, because I got my first job 3 months into the program, my first job. But I couldn't take up the job because I was a student, and I was only eligible to work 20 hours. So I couldn't take up the job. 3 months later, I got 2 jobs with full visa sponsorship. And guys, all the other no's before the 2 jobs prepared me for the yeses I got. So yes, the no's will come, but do not give up, because you always have Tenalytics to go back to. They are the best and the best thing that's ever happened to me. And then yes, and they are the most affordable one I've come across so far, and that's a very good advantage. So yes, Tenalytics for the win.
Tenalytics for the win, every day, every time. Okay, you could all hear Hikmat, and that was Hikmat's story. She joined in March, and she's resumed as a data analyst with the NHS. Same with Ramat, but I'm not going to bore you with too many videos, too many So all I would recommend that you do is follow us on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We post and give you amazing content every single time. All right. So follow us across our platforms, okay, from YouTube to Instagram to Facebook to Twitter or X and all the other platforms, and you get to see the amazing work we are doing. So I'm going to take questions. All right, let's take questions if you have questions, and we'll take questions for the next 10 minutes, and then we'll call it a day. All right. So if you have questions, please use the raised hand icon, and I'll call you up to ask your questions. Or you can just type it into the chat, and I would also take the questions as well. All right. The last thing we'll be doing for today is I'll show you the platform. Okay, the same platform Ikemat used and all the other people that got jobs. There are so many, but because of time, I'm not going to bore you with too many testimonials. You have them all on the slide. This is Benga. Benga got a job as a business data analyst in Poland. The reason why Benga's story is always very dear to me, if anything happens, if Benga sneezes in his company, he reaches out to me. And this was Benga reaching out to me on the 13th of this month, September, where he had a probationary period for 3 months, and he got confirmed even before the 3 months was up. So he got a job. We worked with him for 3 years. He was in Poland. He couldn't get a job as a data analyst. He joined our program. We worked with him. He joined in February, and he was able to get a job by the time he was done with the program. And this was the first message he sent to me: "Boss, I got a job." I was super excited for him. I really want to say I appreciate this opportunity you have given to me. I told him, look, I didn't really give you the opportunity. You joined the program, and that's why you were able to get this job eventually. Now, the amazing thing about Benga is he did not just get this job. He got 3 more offers, okay? I personally worked with Benga on one of his interviews, and he had our other associates worked with him on the subsequent interviews he had, and eventually got the job. He got confirmed even before his 3 months probationary period with a 10% salary increase. So this is him sending me the message. That was 2 weeks ago after he got confirmed. "Thank you again for your inputs." I said, "Hello, Benga, fantastic, congratulations." And he was super excited. All right. So there are so many testimonials from Sunday, who got a job as a regulatory data analyst, to Nathaniel, who got a job as a data scientist with a company in Spain, the largest private research pharmaceutical company, to Amaka, who got a job as a business support analyst after completing our data analytics program, to Stephen, who got a job with the Access Group in the UK as a junior data analyst after completing our program, to Wisleen, who got a job with Shell in the UK as a sales analyst after completing our data analytics program. So yes, you receive a certificate when you are done with the program, all right? You receive a certificate, and one of the things you also do at the end of your internship is you have a portfolio where you have all the projects you worked on, and that's what sets you apart. So there are so many other testimonials. Like I mentioned, I'm not going to bore you too much with the testimonials. I'll take your questions now, and I'll show you the platform, how you'd learn, and why you don't miss anything. If you listen to Ikemat, she mentioned something very profound, which is you have the opportunity to go back to your materials to practice, because they're always there for you. So when you have a class, the class is recorded. You can always go back to watch what happened. So if you have an emergency on a Saturday, you couldn't attend class that Saturday, you would have the recording available, all right? When you have time later that day, you go back, you have access to your data sets, access to the project, access to the case study, access to the recording. So you see everything that happened in class, all the questions and so on. So let's take questions very quickly before we wrap up. So I'll start with Uzoma. Uzoma, I've asked you to unmute yourself. So go ahead and ask your question, Uzoma.
Okay, hi Adisa.
Hi,
Thank you
Uzoma.
for the class. I'm particularly very interested in this. First of all, my background is I've been in this for more than 2 years. I'm currently a data scientist, and but I learned through Udemy and still following the process of Coursera. I already made up my mind to join the analytics before even coming here, but this makes it easier for me, really. And I really enjoyed everything. You answered most of my questions. But what I wanted to get, because you mostly talk about people in the UK, Canada, and for me, I'm not interested in traveling to the UK to anywhere. I like to stay in Nigeria and do a remote work. And then particularly because I've put in so many jobs, and of course you get the rejections and all that. But I'm particularly worried about the rights to work, all those things and all that. So I want to know how that can be. How is it that you are able to help your students to bypass that, those that are not in the UK, Canada, or whatever, that has those rights to work and all that? How do you manage that to meander into those things? That's my question.
All right, very good question, Uzoma. So again, the way you apply to jobs matters a lot. Where you apply to those jobs are also very important. Now, there are some jobs that would require, just like you rightly said, for you to be in the country. So even though it's remote, let's assume it's in the US, you have to be in the US to work, remotely. However, there are other jobs that would not require you to have any particular right to work or any visa requirements for you to get access. And this is Abdurrashid. Abdurrashid currently resides in Nigeria, all right, in Ilorin, Kwara State. He works with Child 420 in the US as a data scientist. Now, we worked with Abdurrashid. That was in 2022. We worked with him, completed the program. He got a job, and he's been doing phenomenally well. He's one of the smartest people I've gotten to work with before. Now, what we've done, and this is what has also made so many other people, just like Victor, who also works remotely, get this. Victor, for example, works with Hugo in Chicago, Illinois. Victor lives in Lagos, Nigeria. He works as a people operations analyst. Now, what we did was to bring back Abdurrashid as our employability partner, specifically for remote jobs. All right. So where to apply to those remote jobs, how to apply to those remote jobs. Because even today, Abdurrashid gets offers. All right. Before he decided to go with Child 420, he had about 4 different offers to work remotely for different companies in the US. All right. So you have a dedicated coach, employability partner that would sit with you, work with you, show you those jobs you need to apply to, where you need to apply to those jobs, how to apply, how to structure your CV, how to tailor your CV using tools, leveraging AI tools like ChatGPT, Jobalytics, JobScan, and so on and so forth to help you get access to those jobs. There are jobs that would require the right to work, like you mentioned, but there are so many that would not require you to have any right to work. You can work from Nigeria, and there are so many of our participants doing that at the moment. Abdurrashid is just one example. Victor is just another example that also works as a people operations analyst right from Lagos without any requirements for right to work. So that's how we bridge that gap for our participants that don't want to travel. Yes, we know people want to earn in dollars and spend in Naira. They want to earn in dollars and spend in cedis. While I was in Nigeria, I was always very busy working on projects outside the country, working for companies in the US, working for companies in Germany, and I was in Nigeria, in Lagos, Nigeria. So we bring that experience to bear to help you also navigate the same space. All right. I hope I answered your question, Uzoma. Okay. I believe I did. So let's take more questions. All right. I'm going to ask Adewale. So again, if you have questions, please feel free. Use the raise hand icon. I'm here to take questions for the next couple of minutes before we wrap up. So any question at all, any question you have, please feel free to ask. Adewale, if you are still there, I've asked you to unmute yourself. Go ahead, please.
All right. Thank you so much, Adeiza. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to make my payment this week, but I want to know, is there any direct contact, a phone number I can chat with,
Absolutely.
you know,
Yep.
in case there's probably a delay in loading my stuff on that website and all that. That's question number one. The direct number I can chat with. I really love that. The
All right.
secondly, I'm still a bit hesitant about the choice of career path between data analysis and data science. Just be actually wants to do data analysis, but
Okay.
I'm thinking that if I go for data science, I can equally be a data analyst by going for data science. So the thoughts that ran through my mind was, there was the essence of having data analysis in your curriculum if data science have captured both.
All right, very good question, Adewale. So let me start from the first one, which is the numbers. Okay, so I'm just going to, so we have two numbers you can reach us on easily. All right, we have a Nigerian number and we have a UK number. So that's it on the screen. You can see my screen.
Okay.
All right, so you can take a screenshot, save it on your phone. Feel free to chat us up anytime you want to. You have questions, you want to schedule, a one-on-one session, because I know some of you would have questions like this, and perhaps we will not have enough time to answer the question on the call. So you can reach out and then you get one of our customer success associates attend to you. All right. Now, why do you have data science if a data scientist can work as a data analyst? Very good question. But again, not everybody would want to learn Python. All right. Python is programming. And there are people that would say, look, anything mathematics, statistics, I don't want to do it. It's not my strong suit. I'm not ready to learn it. I ran away from it in high school, ran away from it in university. Why am I coming to do it now? All right. So we're not going to enforce a particular career path on you if that's not what you can do. What we do is to create and show you other avenues of where opportunities are. All right. It's just like not all tech career path requires coding. Not all tech career path requires you to learn a programming language like Python. So if we insist on data science, how about those that don't want to learn statistics and they don't want to learn Python? What happens to them? They are left out. All right. So you learn data analytics. As a data analyst, I worked as a data analyst for the major part of my career. I never had to use Python for one day, working for the biggest companies you can imagine across sub-Saharan Africa, across the UK, across the US. Okay, so as a data analyst, you learn Excel, you learn Power BI, you learn Tableau, you learn SQL, you learn problem solving, ChatGPT for analytics, Microsoft Fabric. On the other hand, as a data scientist, you are a bit more comfortable with learning statistics because that's going to be the fundamental to your forecasting, your machine learning, and so on. And you'd also learn Python. Okay, so for those that don't mind learning Python and statistics, you go for it. You can apply to jobs as a data scientist. You also have the opportunity to apply to data analyst roles as well. However, on the other hand, as a data analyst, you find it difficult to apply to a data science role because at least 99% of the data science role you'd see would require, even 99.9%, would require Python machine learning. All right. So that's the way it plays out. So if you are comfortable, Adewale, if you are comfortable to learn statistics, to learn Python, please feel free. And trust me, for anybody thinking that, oh, I think it would be too difficult for me, all our programs are beginner friendly. We designed the curriculum with the beginner in mind. We assume that you don't know anything, and how do we help you acquire these skills? All right. So if you're starting the data analytics or the data science, you are starting right from the beginning. Okay. And maybe that will take me to the platform to where you'd see what you'd be learning step by step when you join the program. I hope that answers your question, Adewale. Please remember that the discount available is only for the first 20 people. I've seen a couple of payments coming already, and that's the discounted fee on the screen. One more time, £300 if you're paying in pounds, 270,000 if you're paying in Naira, and you can make your payments in 2 installments of 200 to get started, 100 1 month after the program commences, 180 to get started, 90,000 1 month after the program must have commenced. All right. So that's what it takes for you to be a part of any of the programs. If you are paying, if you're in Ghana, Glory, if you're in Ghana, we have a whole lot of Ghanaians joining our program. Okay, Konadu was a lady who joined recently, and she came to share her experience this week on how amazing the program has been for her. So if you are making payments in CD, use the pay stack option, right? Use the pay stack option, and that's how you get to make payments. We can't have fees in every currency that exists in the world, Glory. So you can either make payments in using the pay stack, or you can use the PayPal option. Okay, now let's quickly look at the platform, and then I think we'll round it off from there. So when you join a program, what does it look like? How do you learn? What would your materials look like? So, okay, so let's look at the platform. So when you register and you join, let's see what those that registered and started in September. They started their program, I think that was on the 9th of September or thereabouts, for the data analytics. So like I mentioned, for the data analytics, for the data science, you have 2 classes, one for the morning class, the other one for the evening. The evening class is to cater to those in Canada, the US, and so on. So let's check out this class and see. So this is the data analytics program. All right. Classwork, you can see the people. The people for this particular class, you have 60 students. So when it comes to how fast the class gets filled up, it gets filled up very, very fast. So if it's something you want to be a part of, my advice is take advantage of the discount and get started. Even if you're not joining this October, you want to join in November, you have the opportunity to defer. All you have to do is indicate, when you fill the form, you'd see where it says, when do you want to start? You indicate, I want to start in November. The advantage for you is you'd have taken advantage of the October discount and starting your journey in November. So let's see the platform. So the very first thing you get when you join is the onboarding materials. Okay, so how to save your videos online. You receive the welcome kits. That's one of the most important things you get, the welcome kit. The welcome kit contains, if you click on this, you'd see it contains all the materials that you need. So that's the cover page. That's myself and the co-founder, Ifemena and Adeza. You'd get to watch a video from us, and then you'd see all the tools you'll be learning, your lesson plan. You have everything here. On Saturday, the 2nd of September, when the class started, what did they do? Introduction to data analytics, problem solving. So you have your timetable and everything in the welcome kit. You'd see where to download, how to install Microsoft Office. You click on the link, you'd see how to install and download, how to download and install Tableau, how to download and install Postgres. So everything you need is in the welcome kit. All right. How to download Power BI on Mac. So you get all of these things, and then you start your problem solving. Now, let me show you the beauty of this platform. This is the problem solving class, the very first class you join when you register for data analytics. You have your login details, okay, where you join the class, and then you have the class recording, which is always made available to you immediately after the class. So imagine you missed the class. So let's click on play and wait for it to come up. Imagine you missed the class on that Saturday. What happens? It would still remain available for you to come back to this classroom, get access to the class recording, and you also have the slides that was used during the class. So if I click on the slide, for a lot of people who are always a bit concerned about, oh, will I be able to learn this? Is it too technical? Is it too difficult? Will I be able to cope? This is still loading. I'm just going to pause for a bit. This is the professional that will take you on problem solving. Her name is Nene. Nene is a strategic planning professional. She has over 6 years experience. She's worked for some of the biggest organizations. While she was in Nigeria, she's worked with KPMG. She's worked with the Bank of America. She's worked with Denom Group. She's also worked with Lauros Development Partners. She's an advisory member of the Harvard Business Review. She also works as a senior FP&A for Zelos UK. Zelos is an authorized licensee of the Nike brand. So for those of you that wear Nike shoes and so on, you would understand Zelos helps to license the Nike products here in the UK. So Nene takes the problem solving class. And the very first thing you start with is what? What is data? So you're not jumping into building stuff. No, you start from the nitty gritty. What is data? And then you get to move to types of data, breaking it down into bits and pieces. What is data analytics? Types of data analytics. We talked about this today, right? Descriptive analytics, diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive. So this is how you learn. And of course, let's go back to the class recording.
It's a minute. Okay, fantastic. The recording has started.
So I'm going to mute it, all right? So this is the class, how a typical class would go. If you miss the class, you have access to this recording. So this is Nene teaching types of data. What is data? What is data analytics? And you engage. You can ask questions, stages of problem solving, okay? So this is a typical class that happens, the way the class is delivered, and you have the opportunity to ask questions. Now, let's go back to see the first Microsoft Excel class, all right? You receive your Watch Me Do It videos. This is the very first week. Remember, I talked about the blended learning approach, live classes and Watch Me Do It. Now, the Watch Me Do It is where you start with your Excel introduction. So let's see the videos. Number 1, introduction to Excel. That's the very first thing you'd watch. Number 2 is paste special, which is basic in Excel. So you learn all this basic stuff. You learn basic formatting in Excel. Number 4, you learn conditional formatting, all right? So these are the basics in Excel. You have the slides. You have guide on how to download your data set. Once you've watched all these videos, you then have your very first live Excel class where you have your trainer and you work on a project. So let me showcase the very first project you'd work on after you've watched your Watch Me Do It videos. The very first project is on applying all those things you've learned: conditional formatting, paste special, basic functions. You work on an Excel case study. Okay, so you'd see how to use all the things you've learned for this particular company to understand their budget, to do a budget and actual analysis for them. So that's the case study 1 during the first day of your class. Case study 2, you have another case study, that same class as well, where you'll be tracking employees, you'll be tracking employees' time tracking. Okay, you track employees' time within this particular company, Ace Analytics. All right, and what are you required to do? Calculate the total hours, determine if an employee has worked overtime. So you deploy the skills, you deploy the functions, the tools you've learned, and then you have an assignment. All right, so it is fully practical based. You are not just watching videos, you are implementing all the things you've learned. So you get your second Excel videos, you have your Excel assignment, you can see that in there. You have drop-in sessions. Your drop-in sessions are designed to answer questions. So let's assume Adewale has registered. Adewale joined the Excel live class, but Adewale did not understand a couple of things, and he needs somebody to work with him one-on-one to address that issue. We set up a drop-in session to help you address that problem, all right? You have your Excel second class, and of course, if you go to the class material as well, you would also see that it is a case study on enhancing information retrieval at Zanzibar University. So it's a case study-based program. You work on case studies, applying all the skills you've learned. You have your mentorship sessions, the recordings of the mentorship sessions. You join the session, and then in case you miss it, all the sessions are recorded. Today, they had Power BI classes, all right? These are the Watch Me Do It videos for the first Power BI class, scheduled for tomorrow. So this is the platform that you joined. So it's amazing the way you learn, and similar to the data science as well. So we look at data science, you'd see what the data science chaps are doing for the September cohorts. You can see it says cohort 2309, all right, 2023, September. EU is Europe, the Europe cohort, which of course covers those in Nigeria, covers those in the UK and across Europe, similar time zones. Okay, so if you go to classwork and you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'd also see that you have your welcome kits. Okay, welcome to Tenalytics. You have a skill assessment session, and you have the very first introduction class. So let's look at the slide. The introduction is simply to onboard you into the program. And then you get your very first video, all right? Introduction to statistics. Introduction to statistics. So we start with the beginner in mind, because we know you've not done it before. Even though you have done it, we really don't care. We treat you like you've not done it. So let's look at comments, because you can drop comments in your classroom and your facilitator would see it. So you can see this comment from Amosu Abiodun, well taught and explanatory. Joel is saying cool, but no assignments. Some people always want extra work, So that's Joel. So you get to watch your statistic videos, introduction to statistics, and then you move to what? Categorical visualization. How to visualize your data. How to visualize categorical data, which is text-based, and how to visualize numerical data, which are numbers, okay? And then you have extra videos on cell referencing, the if function, the sum ifs, and so on. So let's look at the comments. I truly enjoyed and understood these sessions. Thank you, sir. This person is saying, okay. So you see, these are the different, the ways you learn. All your class materials are available to you. You have lifetime access. You can always come back to watch those materials. So I thought it was very important that I showed you the platform, so you have an idea of what it takes and how the platform should be. Okay, how to upload your projects into GitHub. Remember, we said you would have projects, you would have a GitHub profile where you have your project in GitHub. You have your mentorship sessions, you have your predictive analytics live class. So every single thing, you have them here, all your materials, your live classes, the link to join the live class, you all have them. This is your number one repository for you, okay? So let's get back into the other channel, and then I think, what's the time now? We start to call it a day. Okay, so I can see a couple of you have paid. Just ensure that you fill in the form, register, upload your proof of payment, and then we get you into the class. Is it 3 months duration? It's 4 months. 3 months project-based classes, 1 month internship. So it's a total of 4 months for the data analytics and also the data science. Data analytics and data science. Let me see. This is very fantastic, well planned and organized. Absolutely, Fijimi. And this is what has made our participants compete for jobs and get those jobs, because you have everything you need to succeed. Every single thing you need to succeed, you have them available at your fingertips. So let's see if we have more questions. I'm not sure. Okay, I think I'll take my last question for today. So Anali, I hope I got your name correctly. I've asked you to unmute yourself. Please go ahead and ask your question. Anali, all right. Anali, go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
I just wanted to ask, is there any age restrictions? Is it possible for retirees to be part of this?
Well, it depends. It depends. In terms of you getting opportunities, no age restriction. All right. No organization would limit you in getting. In fact, if any organization asks for your age, you can sue them for discrimination. Okay, so nobody would discriminate against you because of your age, because of your gender, and all of that. No. However, I'll be very practical with you, and I'll give you a typical example. My dad had retired in 2019, and he wanted to set up a new company. And part of just being, I would say, adventurous, he wanted to learn software engineering at the age of 60. I talked him out of it, but eventually he was able to learn and he achieved what he needed to achieve. But I'll tell you for a fact that it depends on the type of person you are. If you're as tenacious like my dad, okay, I don't know how old you are. Maybe you want to share, send me a direct message, and then I can give you a specific feedback. However, if you're in your 40s, you're in your 50s, you can join any of our programs. We've had a lady who was 52 who joined our data science program. She's worked with the Federal Ministry of Education for, I think, about close to 20-something years or thereabouts. She joined at the age of 52. Her name is BC, and she did absolutely fantastic. She didn't do it because she wanted to get a job. She did it because she wanted to go into consulting after retirement. So again, there are no age restrictions. However, if the younger you are, I would say the easier it is for you in terms of you having to come to classes, you having to work together with different people and so on. And it's an immersive, intensive program. So if you're that type of person that is tenacious, even in your old age, fantastic. You can be a part of the program. All right.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You sound young though. So I want to assume you are younger than you imply. You sound very young. Okay. How do you upload the proof of payment? Tokpa is asking. Tokpa is very straightforward. All right. All you have to do is click on the link, and I'll show you the link one more time. All right. You see this link? My colleagues have shared it in the chat several times. You can also, once you get the slides today, I beg your pardon, tomorrow, because today time is fast spent already. Click on the link. All right. It takes you into this page over here. It opens up on your browser, takes you into this page. And all you have to do is you'd see where it says upload your receipts. Upload. Click on that to upload. You can also access all the brochures. We offer 6 different programs, from data analytics to data science to business analysis, HR analytics, financial analytics, data engineering, and so on. You have access to all the brochures over here. Today's session was focused on data analytics and data science. Okay, so you can get all the program brochures in here. I hope I answered your question, Tokwe. For those working in the UK, Canada, is the annual salary including tax or without the tax? It is, I'm not sure, to be very honest, if it's with the tax or without the tax. But typically with your take home in the UK, for example, on the average, as a data analyst getting into the space for the very first time, can be as high as 3,500 to 4,000 pounds take home. Okay. But again, the story of somebody, I think I've told this story so many times. He worked as an accountant in Nigeria, had never done data analytics. He worked as an accountant in the oil and gas servicing companies. He came into the UK, one of the oil and gas servicing companies. He came into the UK, joined our program, and he got a job. He was persistent on applying to jobs that were very high paying, 60,000, 70,000. I kicked against it. I told him that, look, I don't think you're going to get this because you are aiming too high. Guess what? He got a job that paid him as high as 60,000 pounds. Even experienced people don't get 60,000 pounds, but he got a job that paid as high as 60,000 pounds. So again, the average is also relative, all right? But take home on the average after tax in the UK, around 3,500 pounds 4,000 thereabouts. Okay. Let me see. For those who have time, you can't attend the 2. You can't. And I'll tell you the reason why you can't attend the 2, Fijimi. The programs are immersive. Okay. You can't, except you are a genius. Even if you are a genius, you still struggle because you're going to join a class for 3 hours in the morning. You want to join another one for 3 hours in the evening. Then on Sunday, you have your Watch Me Do It videos for the data analytics and the data science. During the week, you'd also have to, work on assignments. You'd have to do presentations if necessary and so on. It's not something that you'd be able to do for the 2 programs. So my advice is always start with one, complete it. If you want to take another program, then you go ahead and take the second one. All right. What capacity of laptop? An entry-level laptop. You don't need anything too heavy. Entry-level would be totally fine. Can I alternate between the classes? Yes, you can. You can alternate between the classes, although we don't advise on you doing that, to your own advantage. All right. If you stick to a particular class, it's easier for you to have a smooth sailing learning experience than today you are in the morning, tomorrow you are in the evening. Not that that will be a challenge for you, but it's easier when you stick. But if you have to move between classes, we make that work for you depending on that specific situation at that time. Okay. All right, guys. I think at this point, I'm not sure I have any other hand up. Again, please follow us across all our social media platforms. And I'm just going to show you very quickly. Follow us across all our social media platforms on LinkedIn, on Instagram. See the amazing work we're doing. Get started in your journey. So, for example, you can follow us on Instagram. If you go to your Instagram, so let's go to Instagram and see. If I go to my Instagram page and I search for Tenalytics, so just for you to see the amazing stuff we do as well, let me allow cookies. All right. So go to your Instagram. All right. I need to log in. Sorry. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on LinkedIn. Follow us on Twitter. Whoops. I'm not sure I can log in now. Okay. But let's go to LinkedIn, for example. Okay. I can't log into Instagram on my page at the moment, but go to Instagram, go to LinkedIn, follow us, search for Tenalytics. Okay. Search for Tenalytics. You'd see us there. Click on Tenalytics and follow us. See the amazing stuff we're doing, what our participants are building as well. This is Chigozie. You can see Chigozie learned with us. He worked on this project. And this is Chigozie showing, what he's been able to achieve. Consistency, passion for data, Tenalytics. This is Hanatu. Hanatu also builds his reports. Hanatu trains with us as a data scientist. So follow us across. And this is Ogunshola showcasing his certificates that he's been able to get with us as well. So follow us across all our social media platforms. So when we have sessions like this, you also get to be a part of it. All right. Go on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel, listen to people who have done what you're trying to do, like Ikmat, like Ramat, like Abdurrashid, like Olugbemi, all the amazing people that have recorded themselves speaking about their own transition journey. Get to listen to them to see what they've been able to achieve. All right. So thank you very much, guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful Sunday. Thank you for taking our time, spending time with us today. And I hope you've been able to learn one or two things on how to analyze data to do amazing stuff on Excel, and also how to leverage ChatGPT to get insights into your data. Until I meet with you guys again one more time, hopefully very soon, for those joining the class on Saturday, the 7th of October, keep on being amazing, and I'll see you in some other session. Cheers, guys. Have a wonderful weekend.